Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 703. We begin our look at Night Terrors.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding!
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we're going to be talking about week 1 of Night Terrors, with a main focus on Night Terrors First Blood. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We've got a bunch of Batman stuff that I'm very excited for. We've got Batman and Robin, issue number 1, 50% off, only $2.49. Batman Catwoman, The Gotham War, Battle Lines, issue number 1, 50% off, $3.59. Batman Catwoman, The Gotham War, Red Hood, number 1, 40% off, $2.39. And Batman, Gargoyle of Gotham, issue number 1, 50% off, $3.49. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, at their deals of their week, they have a very special book that I just want to point everyone to. Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Omnibus Hardcover. This is a $100 book, 50% off, only $50. If you haven't read this series, it's a collaboration between IDW and DC Comics. It is stunning, and this omnibus is the way to pick it up. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
The Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of week 1 of Night Terrors. So if you have not read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
I just want you to know, I just told Insomnia that I'm going to give him the Nightmare Stone. like, listen, dude, I'm out. This is my nightmare. Here's your stone. Keep going. On that note, let's talk some comics.
Carter Hall, scientific genius from a far-off world, flies into action as Hawkman.
Jim, our first discussion this episode is going to be of Night Terrors First Blood. The writer is Joshua Williamson. The artist is Howard Porter. The colorist is Brad Anderson. The letterer is Troy Peteri. Cover by Howard Porter and Hi-Fi. Variant covers by Francesco Mantina, Jay Lee, and June Chung. The 125th variant cover by Riccardo Federici. The 150th variant cover by Ajikure. The 100th variant cover by Jay Lee. The Darkest Hour variant cover by Howard Porter and edited by Ben Abernathy. Superman, created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. Jim, Night Terrors is here, and we're going to be focusing this discussion around week 1 of Night Terrors. Jim and I haven't read anything off of week 2 yet. It's out as of the time we're recording it, but we really wanted to focus this discussion very spoilery on the events that have happened in week 1, mainly focusing on the main title, and we're going to have some casual conversation coming up a little later about some of the other books that were released in week 1. Jim, initial impressions, Dawn of DC has kicked off, right? It's been this kind of maybe a soft reboot. It's way I like when they do reboots, especially at this point with kind of we've got a lot of reimaginings of the DC universe between the New 52 and Rebirth and all that kind of stuff that came on. That at this point, Dawn of DC is doing what I like best. They've created organic jumping on points for these books, for characters that have really set the stage for where the universe is going, at least for the current foreseeable future. I was ready for I didn't realize how much I was ready for an event until we got into this. I also wasn't thinking to myself, like when we talked about this way back, I kind of figured this was going to be some cool miniseries similar to some of the other ones that we've gotten. I didn't realize this was going to be, in some ways, a universe-stopping event. Where like everything, and there's other books coming out, but boy, this is like the main meat and potatoes of the universe for the next couple months.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting this, but I really am, so far, I'm really digging the event and I'm digging the presentation. What are you at on this?
Again, with you, I was thinking of this as just a neat little summer event, and even like the tie-in, well, the other issues, I was thinking those were more tie-ins. Yeah. I was thinking it was more of like the Batman issue. I was assuming it would go along with what is going on in the Bat title, and this would just be a tie-in. I wasn't thinking that they're suspending everything else, so that did kind of throw me. And this is one of the things I am wondering is, in the end, how much of a universe-altering event are we going to get? Is this a cool summer event? Which, if it is, I'm enjoying it, so cool with that. Or is this going to be something that after this is done, there's going to be notable changes in the DC universe? That's the thing where I'm really curious about on this. Because this, so far, this series, when I read, first time reading through First Blood, I was like, oh, that's a cool story. But it wasn't like, oh my God, this is epic. So then my second, third read-throughs, reading the other stuff, I'm like, okay. Then it was one of those things where multiple read-throughs made me enjoy it more. Made me see some more of the nuances, maybe get a deeper connection to this thing. So first read-through, 100% enjoyed the book. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a neat summer event. When you start reading the other books, that's when you start thinking, I think this is going to be more than just a summer event. We've got something big happening here. We've got something that's going to be a changing the universe event. And it's like, you think back to, the Dark Crisis that we just had. That one I knew right from jump, this is going to be a universe changer. And it was. This one, I wasn't thinking universe changer. Now I am. And I think that, for me, is a cool part about this story, in that now I'm looking at this not just as a summer fun. This isn't just, some fun in the summertime. This is going to be something really serious and something epic and something changing, the lives of some of these heroes. And that's something I want to see. Well, heroes and villains. And that's something that's also kind of neat, in that with this event, they're not just focusing on the heroes. They're focusing on everybody in the DCU. And I think that is a neat little, add-on thing. Because, the Joker read was really fun. And that was I really enjoyed, spoiler, really enjoyed the Joker read. So there is some neat stuff happening here. And I'm definitely, again, after one issue, I'm 100% all in on this series. I want to see what's going on. And I'm thinking off page on stuff. And it's kind of a neat, this is something that can be kind of cool. I'm looking forward to how this plays out.
I think in contrast to Dark Crisis, at least how I'm feeling this out right now, and I'm feeling it out with week 1, by the way. I want to be clear. So if somebody listening to this has already read week 2, kind of take that with a grain of salt. But in comparison to Dark Crisis felt to me like it was going to be a universe-altering event. I don't know that I feel that with this, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I actually think what this is doing is what I need from it right now. It's going to be a needle mover. It's going to be a universe-defining event. I mean, we're seeing things right off the opening of this. John D., Dr. Destiny, is in this issue, dies.
Yeah.
And we see it, which is really critical, because Dr. Destiny is a long-standing DC villain. Obviously, like any character, can he come back? Sure. Those things happen. But what's happening right now is, and it's really setting the stage for this, people can die during this event. And I don't know that he's going to be the only one. He may. What other defining alterations are people going to have in this? And I don't know. And that's what's intriguing about it. I also like that we're learning things about the characters through this event. By the fact that we're in their dreams. We're seeing what's in their heads. We're seeing them have to overcome things that are meant to bring them to a halt, to shatter them, to keep them off the grid. So that way Insomnia, who is, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm stumped on Insomnia. I did before the podcast, I did kind of like a search, to see any kind of hints for who Insomnia is. And I didn't go comprehensively in, but at least initially it seems like there's not a whole lot out there like defining who Insomnia is. And I don't know that I need to know that right now. I actually like the mystery. So I kind of stopped myself partway through because I'm like, well, how much do I really want to know who he is right now? I don't really care, other than I want to know. Like, I want the story to tell me who this character is because I am intrigued by Insomnia. And they did, which is a strange sentence to put together. Like, you isolate this, it's like, oh, Sean's intrigued by Insomnia. It's like, dude, sleep. It's like, but I really like the introduction of the villain in this. One thing I want to say right out of the starting gate, and I'd be remiss if I didn't do this. You know, I'm looking at the initial page with Wake Up John. Boy, Howard Porter and the colorists are just really nailing this dream world, this dreamlike world. I love the artwork. I love the shading. I love the tones. There's something about how this has been crafted that gives you this sense of, like, because he's in this beautiful dream-like garden area, and you see the kids running around and all that, and I knew when I turned the page, like, something's going to be happening, but I got to admit, I was in the dream. I was captured by the beauty. I turned the page. I wasn't shocked to see that, like, okay, now you're throwing junk at me, but I loved it. I mean, I thought the pacing of it, and the reason why I knew it is like you do with a great horror movie, right? You know, when you turn the corner here, something's gonna happen. Like, and so this was well done and well played. Yeah, you see it coming, and sometimes with horror, it's okay to see it coming. You kind of need, that's part of the journey, right? And you're on it. I really liked that, but boy, I've got to be... I was visually captivated by this right from the first read. That first page just drew me, and I'm like, ooh, this is special. And that's something that's really important when you're kicking off an event. This was the first issue I read from the event, aside from the free comic book day component to it, and this just... there was something magical about that first page that I needed it to be, to set the tone for what was coming later. And that says a lot about the artwork, when that magical feeling was something that I didn't realize until like my second and third read of this, that I was like, oh, I'm really feeling like the dreamlike thing here. It was subtle in all the right ways. And there's something about setting an atmosphere and an artist and a creative team understanding the story beats and saying, we're not going to go over the top in your face with this. We're going to subtly set a mood here to lead you into what you know is coming next. And they did it beautifully. I mean, this is a really good-looking book.
Oh, big time. The art team, and actually on this and all the books as well, really did a great job capturing just that creepy horror. But everything you were saying, I was sitting there nodding my head along the page flip. This was an absolute... This right here is the example. If you ever hear me talk about the page flip, where when you flip the page, it hits you like a hammer. This 100% did that. I completely agree with you. Loved as hell. You get that opening where you see the birds are chirping and everything's sunny, and then you flip the page, and it's just... You're like, oh, yeah. And I absolutely loved how they went with that. And then even continuing on, as it gets deeper into the dream world with the heavy purple tones, and when Dr. Destiny, comes out more, and it's not the fun, happy John D. And really, it was a cool usage of just that initial, but then it just continues and grows and grows. And then throughout the rest of the book, you've got just this nightmare universe that he's in, and our team did a brilliant job on this. This is... and again, it's, I like Howard Porter art, and I'm trying to rack my brain whenever I saw him do this horror kind of style, this creepy, supernatural kind of style. I'll be honest, I don't remember.
He's done Howard Porter's done a lot. Okay. So he's clearly, he's not clearly, he's definitely done it before. Whether, in the superhero genre or other books, but, I think one of the most significant runs where you get to see Howard Porter play with quite a bit of different types of storytelling. He was on the Morrison JLA run, and the stuff that they were doing in that book was just kind of mind-blowing, and they just told all kinds of wacky stories in that run, so you get to see a lot of him doing this. This pairing, though, him and the colorist and everything they were doing here, I just thought it stands out. as just being something different. I love it when you see artists who are established and art teams who are established. You see, everyone who's involved, that these are people that have been doing this for a while when they're playing with their craft, and this is an example of playing with the craft. This is you can hold this up to other work that you've seen from this talent before and go, oh, they're playing around, they're having fun. And I like that. I really respect that because it makes it a fresh read and a fresh experience. And there's something about setting a stage like this that makes it just feel a little different. And that's neat. Where it's just not, you don't just sit there and go, okay, this is another book by this artist and it all looks the same. My favorite artists are doing this. And that's something where it stands. Adding to the creep factor on this, with John D, and I really want to, I know we're talking just about the first couple pages, pretty in depth, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I think it's important when you're talking about and setting the stage for what Insomnia is, you got to take a look what Insomnia did. So we're hitting somebody who the dreams are the playground of in Dr. Destiny. And you're attacking him starting with his family, his closest, his wife on outward. Wife, kids. The wife is obviously a certain creep factor. I always have found in horror in general, whether it's in comics, whether it's on film or whatever, when you start playing around with kids and making kids, the source of evil and that type of thing, there is a different kind of creep factor to it. Right? Like the Robins, in Metal, and that type of thing, what they were playing around with there. But I think of things like The Omen. I think of things like Children of the Corn, where you got like Isaac and stuff like that. It was just a different kind of, where the kids had like gotten rid of the adults, that type of thing. There's a different kind of creep factor to all of that. That is just, to me, it's scary, it's creepy, it's uncomfortable. And I love the way it built out and got gradually more uncomfortable. And Dr. Destiny's like, defiantly trying to fight this. And when you're overcoming a character that this is their playground, it sets the stage. This is a next level villain. Really important to do when you're establishing a new villain is to set the stage this way. And that's where this, I think, accomplishes itself brilliantly. Because Dr. Destiny's saying, don't be shy, show yourself, you can't control me, that type of thing. And Insomnia is kind of like, listen, you can sit there with all that bravado you want. I'm throwing you at the Hall of Justice. I'm throwing you at the Justice League. I loved seeing kind of Howard Porter play around with the original cover to his Justice League run, JLA run. And then like we got the heroes, these ghostly versions of these, or these dreamlike versions of these heroes coming out and attacking. The Nightmare Stone being the reveal here. And because that's the chase, right? It's where is the Nightmare Stone? Where was it hidden? That is what Insomnia is after, and Dr. Destiny is refusing to reveal its location. And I love the fact that we don't know who Insomnia is. The Nightmare Stone is a newish kind of thing. I'm not familiar with, the concept of Nightmare Stone. I didn't do a whole lot of looking for it, just in the sense that I get the idea that this is the quest item that we're going for, and I love quests, so I'm like, let's go on this journey and find it. I love that Dr. Destiny hit it someplace that people wouldn't be expecting, which is inside his enemies. That's why Insomnia is taking everybody off the field, because let's move around these playgrounds and actually find out where this doggone thing is. I love this. I love the whole concept. It's just really, really cool.
Oh, big time. Big time. And again, one of the things, talk about just, I had no idea. I'm not really, knowledgeable on Dr. Destiny. Yeah, I remember seeing some stuff, but nothing too major that I was like, oh, Dr. Destiny. Of course, he's blah, blah, blah. I didn't know really that much on him, but the issue did a great job letting the reader who doesn't know who Dr. Destiny, who doesn't know who John D is, or even know about this Nightmare Stone, they did a great job within a couple pages here of bringing us all up to speed. So if you're going into this blind, if you have no idea, again, it's all part of this whole bringing in, a jump on point for new people. If there's a new person who's reading comic books who've no idea any of this stuff, within a couple pages, they're going to get the understanding of what's going on with Night Terrors. It's this, this Insomnia is searching for the Nightmare Stone, that this villain, Dr. Destiny, who used to be a band, used to mess around in the Dream universe, hid somewhere. So they did a great job of, within the confines of this, laying out the story, laying out the plot for Night Terrors. But also, it's not like it's locked in, set in stone. It's going to be an exploration for all of us. Yeah. I thought that was kind of a neat way to handle this. One,
I agree.
Get the new people. Two, get the experienced people. So they're doing a brilliant job in that within the Night Terrors, this event.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's one of the things that I really do like about this is the idea that this Night Terrors is really doing a great job of kind of being something that's fresh for everybody with the right winks and the nods to the history of the DC universe. It's making me look things up in certain cases. In other cases, it's making me content to just kind of say, okay, we're doing something new here. Let's just enjoy the ride. The James Bond-like opening then leading into this Deadman sequence was really cool because Deadman's a pretty pivotal character in this storyline. So they do a great job of setting the stage, reminding you who Boston Brand is, kind of letting you know where Boston Brand's at now. The thing this also did really well throughout it set a placement in continuity with where this story's taking place. Because it establishes what's happened to Boston Brand leading up to this. Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman. We know where Night Terrors takes place in regards to the current DC universe. I love when writers take... Is that necessary in every story? No. But at this point in time, a lot's happened. We've had Dark Crisis. We've had the dawn of DC. We've had multiple events going on for Action Comics, for Superman, for Wonder Woman, for Batman. It's, where are these heroes now? And this has put a check in and put us all on the even playing field of, this takes place here. This happened to Batman. This happened to Superman. This happened to Wonder Woman. Some of that's told through the eyes of Deadman. Some of it's told from them directly in the fact that they're checking in with each other because they haven't seen each other. Like Batman hasn't been seen by Superman and Wonder Woman since the Failsafe storyline. But we know that now, okay, that happened. And this is Bruce after all that. Super cool that it established that piece because I didn't realize how much when I'm like, oh, cool. I wanted a continuity check-in. If you'd said to me, Sean, do you need that in Night Terrors? I would have said, oh, I'm not really worried about it until they give it to me. And I'm like, oh, no, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of the neat things that this story, that this event's doing right. Mm-hmm. It's bringing us in and again tying in with the with this whole new relaunch, reboot, whatever you want to call it, of the DC universe. They're keeping everybody in check, keeping everybody if you just jump back on DC, you know what's going on, you know where it's taking place, and those are things that sometimes does bother me, because I'm like, I need to know. I've got that little weird quirk in me, so they satisfy it nice and easily. So thank you. So, yes, I'm very happy. And again, it was neat how this went from the super creepy, then you introduce Boston Brand, bring him in, again, doing the same thing. New people, here's who he is, here's what you need to know. Experienced people with Boston Brand, here's maybe something you didn't really think about with Boston Brand. And I thought that, again, telling a story for new people and for experience is a very difficult balance to do. Right from jump, they're doing a great job with this. And again, Joshua Williamson's a writer that we both say is an awesome writer, so I'm not surprised that he's pulling this off because he is that good. So I'm going to keep saying yes. So I'm it's one of those things where you really like seeing the Trinity come together. They go to the Hall of Justice. They talk about how it's really the Titans' game now. The Justice League is not around anymore. Again, continuity check. Let you know what's going on, but they kept the Hall of Justice up and running for the people, which again, good, smart play on it. I like that. It was a lot of neat little, oh, okay, cool. Oh, that's neat. Little check the boxes. They're doing this and that. So, and then when you get to see John Dee's body there, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I love this.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm looking at this page right now. Actually, I've got to reference it just because I think it's stunning. We're talking about Deadman. I'm looking at the page where he's sitting on top of the statue with the wings and everything. What I love about it is I love how vivid the foreground is. But again, in the background, you see this storm-like weather, like the wind, and you see the effects of it on leaves, and You get the background. I just think it's stunning. I think it's a really stunning piece of artwork. We're on a quest, right? That's the whole point of this. I love that this feels like a journey with each page. Like, as you're turning it, you feel like you're on the journey. Like, okay, where are we going now? What are we going to see now? And that's pretty important. You've got to have strong visuals in this because of the fact that you want to feel like you're on the journey, right? I felt like I was on the quest in this story. And I think that's something you have to attribute that to, obviously, a great script. You also have to attribute that to amazing artwork that is taking you through where the writing is guiding you. And it's really, really, when you've got this kind of punch, I feel like I'm on a joyride here where I'm on the quest. And Boston Brand's, he's floating. We start seeing him floating through certain sequences of events. We see the funeral that he's at, and we see him, kind of swinging through, talking about his life. We're actually like journeying through his life with him as he's flying along. I love just that sense of every aspect of this has been a ride. We did that with John D in the beginning. We were riding through his dream with him, where there was a sense of motion, there was a sense of movement, and like you're on a quest, like you're on a journey, which is an interesting way to frame up this story, where we're searching for this Nightmare Stone. Because you got to feel like you're this feels like a Lord of the Rings kind of quest, and I like that. I'm a big role playing game. I'm talking about the electronic role playing games, and I know you're a D&D guy and that type of thing. I loved the sense that I felt like I was on the quest, and that's something that was just, I think, done masterfully in how they crafted this story.
Oh, big time. And again, usage of Deadman in this was his character fits the story, so yes, but also just again the kind of connection who he is, and they gave him a couple pages to flesh out, and the funeral he's at. One of the things I loved about that was this is a guy who lived to be 101 years old. The funeral, the crowd that went there, and they were all upset over it and all crying, and families grieve. And you think back to this. This is a man who lived 101 years old. Anybody else would say, "Hey, that was a good run." This family's like, "No, this is too soon." This is what I call the Betty White syndrome. When someone who's really, who's lived a full life, when they die, you sit there and say, "No, that was too soon. We need more time with her." Same thing with this guy. And I thought that was a really cool usage of showing this guy's life and just all that. And then you go into his life, how he wasn't the greatest of person. And when he died, there was probably people who said good riddance, So it was a neat contrast going into it, but also it does show why he does what he is, why he's still around, why he still hangs on and tries to be a hero and is a hero, and tries to help people. So it's kind of neat that, again, they're taking a little bit of time to let us know who Boston Brand is. And again, and even just his watching, Superman and Wonder Woman and his comments on them. It was kind of a cool, opinionation of who the Trinity is.
Did you just invent a new word?
I think I did. We'll add it to strategery.
We sure will.
No, I did not invent strategery. So.
No, but I'm pretty darn sure you invented opinionation. I was sort of like, what is he saying now? Opinionation? The officer of opinionation.
Looks like we got a new one.
This Superman imagery, when you start to see Boston's looking at Superman and kind of his analysis of the character, a lot of times I think of Batman as the character that artists play around with the most, right? People have their take and their versions of Batman. I like that this felt like them playing around with Superman, where it's its own. Yes, it's the classic Superman outfit and all that, but it's the art styling, right? There's little tweaks and little touches there that just make this like a really cool Superman visual piece. I really enjoyed the Superman sequence with the kid and the Justice League piece as he was flying in. It's something that it doesn't, when it's done with Superman well, like this, it stands out to me because I think I'm more used to it with Batman.
Oh, definitely. And again, it's kind of neat in my mind. The way I look at this is we're looking at the world through Boston's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you get a little variations on it. And again, and also because of this whole Night Terrors event that's coming down, everybody's starting to get affected by this. So even Superman's got a little bit of the creepiness factor already starting to attach itself to him. Everybody in the universe has this starting affecting. So it's kind of like how you think back to that very first page when everything, the light was all sunshiny and happy. This is that. We haven't flipped the page yet for Superman. We haven't flipped the page yet for Wonder Woman. So I kind of like how this is kind of setting up what will turn into the Terror. The Terror is coming for them. So again, like you, it's the artwork is absolutely wonderful. But for me, second and third read-throughs is when I started looking at surrounding areas, started seeing some of the shadow effect or terror effect or something like that. They're starting to play with the backgrounds already. So it's already starting to happen. I thought that was a neat touch, whether it was accidental or intentional. I loved seeing that. Again, my second and third art read-throughs, actually sitting down and enjoying that stuff.
So, Hall of Justice, what's your stance on that with Batman? Batman's thrown out there saying, like, hey, this thing should have been taken down. It should be offline. Superman's got a very different approach. That it's an inspiration to people. And, that's always kind of like the dynamic between Batman and Superman. Where do you stand? Are you Team Batman or Team Superman on the Hall of Justice? Who's right?
I'm Team Superman, 100%. But I understand Bat's opinion. And I would have any of the dangerous stuff relocated to somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Fortress of Solitude, whether it's Titan Towers, whether it's someplace X, just some other location other than that, just for the stuff that stuff that Batman's bringing up. How it is a target. The bad guys are going to target it. And if we have innocent people there when the bad guys attack, there's not going to be a Justice League to protect those people. So I kind of get what he's saying, but I'm with Super on this one, partially because I'd like to visit it,
It sounds like you're both, though, because to a certain extent, you're actually taking elements of what both are saying and incorporating them into your solutions a little bit more elegant. And you're kind of saying, listen, guys, you're both right. Superman, you're right. We need this inspiration. But Batman's right. Like, we need to hide some of this stuff. They should not have access to this. Did you think John Dee was there? Because I'll be honest, I thought I wasn't surprised with the reveal that he wasn't, but I will say when I first saw that shocking sequence with John Dee there, I'm like, oh, so John Dee's dead and we're seeing him right now. There's truth to that, but why he was dead is because of what we're seeing here. We were seeing his dream manifested in reality. I did not necessarily, I was questioning what we were seeing there and what was actually happening in front of me. I did not think that he was in two places in that moment.
First read-throughs, when I'm flipping through the pages, I thought, okay, there's John Dee's body, okay, and then when we get the reveal that he and Harley are at the one hospital, and you look at the picture, I'm like, okay, that's his body, and that's when I started thinking, okay, what's that other one? Because I didn't think he was in two places at once. And then once you see Boston Brand try to jump into the body, it's not a real dead body. That's when I started thinking, okay, this is the Night Terror. This is the villain's body, And so even before the big reveal and all that stuff, I started thinking that this was. I didn't know the concept of night constructions, but I knew this wasn't his body. His body was actually there. This is something to do with the Night Terror.
Yeah,
this was to do with insomnia. And throughout, you'll keep hearing me call him the Night Terror instead of Insomnia, just because I don't know. From when I started reading it, I kept calling him that. Even though the name Insomnia is an awesome villain for this guy, for some reason I just call him Night Terror.
Well, Night Terrors is what is happening to them. Right. So this is a Night Terror in front of them. It's the interesting part about that is dreamlike constructs usually we're used to manifesting in the dream and having consequences in the dream. This is the dream happening in reality. and way cool when that happens. It's playing with those concepts that you're talking about of constructs in a different way. One thing, where I mentioned before that I think this is more universe defining is, when you flip the page there and you're taking a look at the Justice League that had some battles with Dr. Destiny, and you see an older version of Zatanna, in her older outfit, Firestorm, Red Tornado on the Justice League team. You see Ollie and Dinah, clearly older versions of them. Again, it's establishing continuity, historical continuity. Somebody who hasn't read those before can go, I'd kind of like to read some of the issues involving that particular team lineup and things like that. I love when they do stuff like this. I didn't realize how much I needed that. You were questioning before, like, what is Dawn of DC? Is it a reboot? Is it a relaunch? I really do feel like this is a redefining. Like, they've created natural jump-on points, but it wasn't like what happened before didn't happen. Everything that happened before happened. What they've given us with each of these books as they start to manifest these Dawn of DC logos is these are natural jump-on points to, kind of get on board, start riding along with these characters, and this is where this universe is at now. We're kind of checking the box of defining for you what DC is now, today. And everybody can get on board with that. If you are a lapsed reader, you can come back and feel comfortable that there are going to be touch points on everything that you've enjoyed before. If you are a new reader, you can feel comforted that we're going to tell the kinds of stories that are going to be welcoming to you, bring you into the fold, bring you up to speed with what you need to know in order to be a participant in this universe. This is my favorite kind of way of handling something like this, because I think it meets the needs of multiple groups when you do it this way. It's people are kind of like, I miss this, I miss that. Well, those things happened. Those are all here. And we're going to include them where they make sense in the storytelling. While at the same time, we're still going to do some new things that are going to play around with your characters. They're going to play around with the universe, play around with their interactions, make it feel more contemporary. And they're really doing this very consistently across the line. And in particular, this event is kind of like, I don't want another Dark Crisis right now. I love Dark Crisis. I think Dark Crisis did what it did really well and set the stage to get us at a point where we could have this kind of story. But this story needs to be right now, this is happening. This is something where it's not going to, destroy everything you've been reading for the last 3-4 months. It's going to build on everything you've been reading for the last 3 and 4 months and continue to be built upon after this. And I want to feel a universe building at this point versus we're going to shatter it now and rebuild it. Now it's like, no, build this. And, if you build it, they will come, kind of that kind of thing. I feel like right now I need a universe being built, and this feels like building a universe. Are you getting that vibe off of this, or is this like, am I talking out of my whatever?
No, dude, I'm. It's funny. I was just going along and listening to you, and I'm nodding my head silently, saying, "Yes, yeah, I agree with you." This is these are this Dawn of DC. That's why I was a hard time identifying and defining it, what actually it is, because they are. It's not just a start over.
Yeah.
It's a growth, and it's a development, but they're doing it with some big events, with some big stuff happening. That's why I was thinking. With the Night Terror, I was initially thinking it was just going to be a summer event.
Me too.
Now I'm looking at this, especially as we go through the different books, I'm starting to look at how they're going to use this to tweak and change people and update not some history, but update some characters and update status quo on them. And again, after Dark Crisis, Justice League went away, Titans became the primary superhero group for the good guys. And here, they're acknowledging how it is the Titans. And even the Trinity is like, they're not involved in the big group anymore. You have a large superhero group that does not have the Trinity in it. And that's okay. And we're seeing, though, the Trinity is still the Trinity. They were initially the first ones on scene at the JLA. They got the, the notifications to the headquarters, for the interruption. So it still has that same comfort that we want, but it's not only on them. It's now on other people. And I think that's something that this series so far for me is doing a great job on, where each of these side stories are also have the same kind of weight to it. You and I, before we started recording, we were talking about how, we look at the Batman title as being one of the main titles of the story arc, but other people may say, oh, no, it's going to be the Poison Ivy. No, Black Adam. No, wait till the Flash, or, all the different other connections. And I think that's something that this story did a great job with, where the main title, First Blood, and then in the main titles with the Night Terror series, that's going to be continuing the story. But these side, stories are going to have the connection. They're going to have the tie-ins. And that's where we're going to get changes for these individual characters in their side stories. And maybe some of them will tie into the main storyline directly towards the outcome, but they're giving each of these books plenty of strength for themselves to grow, to tell a story, to tell the characters change and or continuation, however it's going to play out. So I think that's something about just the Dawn of DC, Night Terrors, even throwing back to the Dark Crisis. They're doing a great job with this. All this stuff that happened before happened. We're just continuing the story. We're advancing it. We're changing some stuff, yes, but we're not erasing what you knew. And I think that is something that's kind of neat. And as you mentioned, these little tie-ins to this other Justice League that fought Dr. Destiny. And previously, when they're showing the different the different covers that he worked on, it did little tweaks to it. Just that they're going to make sure we know, yes, all this stuff happened. You're not losing what you read. You're not losing what you enjoyed so much. And I think that, for me, is something kind of cool that they're doing with this. And even the little changes where Harley's got the Batcom. And Bat's like, hey, how'd you get this? I love the fact that Harley is a hero, and I did air quotes around hero. Harley is Harley, and I love that she, in this, is being Harley. She's got a little X factor to her, what's going on with her. And, she's reaching out to the Bats to let them know, hey, John D's body's here. Just letting you know. She's because she's now part of the Bat family, according to her. So I love that we get that little change, and we saw her getting used by the different members of the family. We saw her being brought into the fold. That she's not the Joker's sidekick. She's not the Joker's girl. She's not just that punching bag that the Joker had. She's her own person. Yeah. And that's something that's happened in her series and some of the other events, some of the other cool crossovers, and I love seeing that continue here.
I really enjoy Harley Quinn's evolution, because Harley's been a character I've always liked. I found, over the years, that she wasn't a character, though, that, I needed to read everything Harley. I think I liked the character. I liked her fun factor. I've enjoyed her appearances, particularly in animation and in video games. And, I love things like Mad Love and stuff like that, good stories. I like that they brought her into the DC universe from animation. I like that was, where her origin was, and that she was brought in. But she was never really one of those characters that, I had, a must-read. That's changed for me. I really enjoy reading Harley now. I like her book. I like the character. I like her appearances and things like this. I like what she brings to the table. I like that they've evolved the character and continued to grow and make her multifaceted to the point, what you said, she's like a storm. Like any storm, they have peaks and troughs. There's times where it's raining, and there's times where the storm clears up, and there's that. The other day is a great example. I was at work, and it was that dark, cloudy sky, where it looked like it was going to storm, and you have that kind of wind that feels like it could potentially get angry, but the sky looks way cool. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I love that kind of weather. I don't like what comes afterwards. But when you're out in that, you're visually, it's just this really cool presentation. And Harley Quinn at her best is that. And I think you've got to have the other elements of her in there to really appreciate the chaos that is Harley Quinn. And the Joker is a violent, dangerous chaos that usually results in people dying. Harley Quinn's kind of grown into being a different kind of chaos. where she's trying to trying to stop doing that and not be that person and try to be, more on the side of the light. But I'm with you. Would I define her as a hero? No, I define her as Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about Boston Brand invading Batman? Because I really loved that whole sequence because we've seen it before. We've seen him invade people before where they haven't liked it. Obviously, Batman's going to be the one that, because there's been years of him basically not being okay with this. And I really loved how violent all of that was. Defiant Batman was. I absolutely 100% am Team Batman with this because that idea creeps me out. Mind control creeps me out. Those are hypnotism, all those kind of things. I just think that's messing with the mind and somebody taking you over in that capacity where you lose control of your faculties is something that I just think is a really creepy power set. I love that about Deadman. I think it makes him an interesting and intriguing character, but I loved the visuals of that sequence, the way that he was expelled from Batman, even the look on Deadman. It was not a clean dispelling, clean him leaving Batman's body. It looked like the regurgitation that it was. And I just thought that was just a really great choice how that whole sequence was handled, because I think it should feel like that when somebody's aware of what's happening and not willing to stand for it. And I thought that was just a great sequence of events.
I agree completely. I absolutely loved this, and everything you were saying, once again, I was nodding my head along with it. But it was funny, when I read it, as soon as I saw him doing it, I was like, dude, that's the wrong person to go into. If it was me, I would have gone into Wonder Woman. Because one, he has that connection with Wonder Woman. He has that, he had that interactions with her. And two, she wouldn't expel him out, as violent. He'd have to apologize. Say, hey, sorry I'm doing this, Diana, but I got to let you guys know what's going on. Whereas going into Beth, the whole time, he's pushing him out. Whereas with Diana, he would have gone in, said his piece, and then stepped out. But again, I absolutely love the look of this, so I'm not complaining that he did it, because it is absolutely brilliant art, brilliant storyline, and of course Batman's the one who's able to push Boston Brand out because he's been training for that, because he is Batman. He would train for this kind of stuff.
But there's a reason why he didn't jump into Wonder Woman. He wanted to talk to Wonder Woman. There's a reason why he didn't jump into Superman. He wanted to talk to Superman. He didn't think Batman would listen to him the way that the other two would. So it was strategic on Deadman's side. I love that. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. It is the wrong person to jump into, but he had no choice. Yeah. And it was, everything you were saying is valid. And that's what made the sequence so great, because yes, check every box so everything you said is 100% correct. I'm not disagreeing with anything you said. He didn't have a choice, and the story reacted in the way that it should based on everything that you said. That's where I think it's great writing and great artwork, because of the fact that they agree with you and they handled the story accordingly because of it.
Yes, 100% agree with that. Yes. And one of the things I also loved was with Bruce, he's like, never do that again, Boston. I can't hurt you, but I will help you go into the light. You understand me? I love the fact that he's threatening a dead man.
Oh, yeah.
He's not breaking the code. He's not killing him because he's already dead.
And with Bruce, though, here's the thing. The threat of violence, the threat of death, the threat of something worse than death is not foreign to Batman. Batman uses fear. So whether or not he would actually end Deadman or not, it's that Deadman has to believe it's a possibility. That's it. Because that's the danger, right? So you've got to be intimidated enough to believe that there's a possibility I could really tick Batman off enough that he would do that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Amanda Waller appearance?
Come on, you got to love the Wall. I love the fact that she's monitoring them and notice that the three got together again. Something's going on. They take off in a hurry. There's no pictures, no posings. And again, something wicked this way comes. The Wall knows what's going on. And especially some of the previous stuff we've seen where the Wall is starting to target the heroes. And she's got the green light to start taking out some heroes. So, again, furthering on that story that was laid down, after the crisis. So, and I love the Wall, the video monitoring she's got up there, how she's got the Trinity, but she also got Cyborg up there. She's got Nightwing. Flash is there. Ravager's there. So it's not just the big three she's watching. She's watching everybody, and she's going to pick her targets as to some of the more dangerous ones that need to take out.
Agreed.
You think about it. The ones that are up on the Wall are some of the more dangerous heroes for her. You got the precog, you've got the person who's the living computer who's linked to everybody. You, of course, have the Trinity. You've got the Flash who can do the timey-wimey stuff, plus it's hard to take out a speedster. And last, you got Nightwing. Why do you have Nightwing? Because Nightwing is the hero that everybody looks to. If you want to take out, if she takes out all these pieces on the board, she will cripple the hero universe in one motion. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that those are the ones she's monitoring. Those are the ones that are up on the board because she's thinking, again, this is the Wall laying out the plan, what has to go on, but she needs recon. Something's happening. She needs recon now. So I love, again, great usage of the Wall here.
The investigation, and I really do like when Batman and Deadman team up. There's a historical piece to this. I think it leads to interesting stories. I like that when Batman talks to Deadman and Batman likes to interact with him, there is, the two of them do actually make good partners in these type of supernatural stories. And this is my childhood, right here. Seeing these two team up and, Deadman jumping into bodies to talk to Batman and fill him in on the sequence of events. And what the analysis I thought was really cool. It adds to a creep factor where we start to see, now some reveal of Insomnia and just how powerful Insomnia is, where he's laughing in the face of Batman and he is getting into trying to get into the head of Batman. The Batarang throw and things like that. You think you're the stuff of nightmares? You ain't seen nothing yet. And that crack of the neck and the flip around of the head. This is the kind of story. Batman is one of those great characters that is very malleable. And I love me a good supernatural Batman story when you do this. There's something really cool about it. It adds a danger level to Batman. But it also, there's something about knowing the strength of Batman and the defiance of Batman in no matter what he's faced with, he keeps going, keeps trying to find ways around these things that otherwise seem insurmountable. But I like that it's also not some overpowering of Batman. He's a human who's dealing with this. And we've got to see him use ingenuity, use cleverness, analyze the situation, use the resources at hand to try and determine what will help him overcome his foe. And we see that this is just the starting stages of that. And that was something I really found cool about just this initial battle with Insomnia. How it sets the stage for this is a game changer for Batman, as somebody that Batman's going to have to really figure out how to overcome. Right now it's about survival. It is not about winning. He's telling people to run. We've got to regroup. We've got to strategize. We cannot stay here. And he recognizes that. And I like that there's that sense of he recognizes we need to get out of this for right now.
Yeah, we've got Walking Dead going on here.
Yep.
This is not again, it's survival. It's not living, it's surviving, Yeah. Everywhere you go is danger. Everywhere you go is death and creep and horror and whatnot. So, again, absolutely love just the scramble going on. It's kind of like the Jackie Chan movie where you're hitting and running. And you're seeing some cool bat stuff going on here. And I love that, again, it's not just about Bat going on. Harley starts noticing what's going on with the people, how the doctors are getting affected. Then again, flip the page and you see Wonder Woman and Detective Chimp get hit. Zatanna tries to save him, but this isn't magic. Boston Brand said this wasn't magic, and we're seeing right there, she tries to waken him and, can't do it, Love how this is going through. Each time you're flipping the page, things keep getting worse. And then to the point where you flip the page, you see Superman flying through the sky, the purple eyes, and he falls to the ground. You're like, oh, they got Superman. Absolutely loved seeing how this is affecting everybody, how it's going through. This is an all-encompassing universe. Everybody is getting hit with this. Loved seeing just the spread out. It's absolutely wonderful, man.
Yeah, it does give a sense of an overwhelming piece. I love that Batman does the typical adrenaline piece to keep awake, and even that wasn't enough. He is pulled into dreams whether he likes it or not. And that was something that really added a sense of danger.
Hey, now, question for you. Mm-hmm. Am I the only one, because I may be, who when he hit the button and he goes, no sleep till Gotham, heard Beastie Boys, no sleep till Brooklyn, going through their mind?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. It's not me.
Yeah.
But again, you got to love that, Batman was prepared for something like this.
Right.
Batman was prepared for, you got moments when you've got to stay away. Because he normally pulls these ridiculous, 4 or 5 days in a row up and not sleeping or just sleeping on an hours or something like that. He prepared for a moment when I can't fall asleep. He's got that massive adrenaline going through, and I loved how that didn't work. Even that didn't go through. It goes back to the whole Nightmare on Elm Street kind of thing where don't fall asleep. You blink your eyes, you're really asleep. You think it was just a blink? No, you fell asleep.
You waste your talents, Boston. These bodies are toys for us to play with. While the world slumbers, you can join me, and I'll give you what you wish for. And all you must do is help me find the Nightmare Stone and make the heroes pay for what they did to me. Now, tell your good friend Insomnia, what do the dead dream about? It's an interesting sort of piece because I don't know who Insomnia is. He's obviously got some sort of direct issue with the heroes, so what happened, I don't know. I want to know that story. I like that this is unfolding before us. And, really, really great opening. I've got to also say the page count of this was very, very stunning in this. You needed a significant, meaty opening chapter in order to really pull you into this, and this did a great job off of that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Well, actually, I was going to comment on Insomnia. Mm-hmm. Well, one, comment on just this whole Boston brand Insomnia kind of tag team with Boston in the body of the Bat this time.
Yeah.
But Bat's completely out, so he can't expel Boston. So now we've got Boston inside a Bat, where that's going to play out. But for me in Insomnia, again, like you, I have no idea who he is. I don't even have a theory because I think this is going to be a completely original one.
Maybe.
I think what happened in one of the classic adventures that the heroes had, there was, collateral damage. And I think the collateral damage is what created Insomnia. Whether it's, one of the big events, whether it's one of the heroes. Part of me is thinking Dark Crisis did something, but I don't know if they're going to go that recent, if they're going to go more into the past, the classic story. But somewhere, and again, it's one of those. The reason I'm thinking Dark Crisis is just because of the whole purple and the whole darkness and the creep factor that Dark Crisis
and this is the writer of Dark Crisis,
right? Exactly. That too also helps out with that. So part of me is thinking some normal person, some Muggle, got affected because of the whole Dark Crisis stuff happening, and when Dark Crisis ended and everyone was like, "Yay, we're all saved," he wasn't. I think that is what the thing is. We got Insomnia is somebody who was trapped still in the darkness. That's my guess. And I think, again, who knows? But that's where I'm kind of wondering, because again, you think back to, he's like, even in the beginning of this issue, he's saying, soon the world will see you not as heroes, but as the horrors, the terrors you are. So he's looking at things through the darkness, and that's why I'm thinking, again, Dark Crisis.
This isn't me saying you're wrong. I don't know that I'm making that connection. I don't know that connection's wrong. I guess I'm just not connecting those dots. But here's the thing. Case in point of what I just said to you. This is the writer of Dark Crisis. Could it be connected to Dark Crisis some way? Could very well be. I wouldn't be surprised, to find that that's the case. like I said, I feel this is a journey that Joshua Williamson's been taking us on, and just DC overall, which I think is really great. I'm very content to go along for the ride and see what this. It's funny. I don't have a lot of theories on this right now, and so I'm kind of just enjoying where they're taking me. Yeah. And I feel like I'm on the quest with them, and I feel like I have the amount of information the heroes do right now, and I'm enjoying that. So it's why I'm not feeling like overly motivated to have all the answers. I'm content to go on the ride. And it's not every story does that. There's some stories where like I'm combing the internet, I'm searching forums and stuff like that. And there's no right or wrong way to approach any story. This just is one where I'm not feeling that urge. I'm feeling the urge to, like, I want to read every issue. I want to see every story. I want to uncover any nook and cranny. Actually, what I'd like to say, because we're going to do a segment now, after this one, where we just kind of casually talk about some of the tie-ins, because we're not going to go cover to cover on every book tied in with this, but just overall initial impressions of week 1 of the books that tie into this. And I guess what I'd love to hear from listeners, whether you post in our Facebook group or give a call in or an email, let us know how you're digesting this event. Are you picking up everything? Are you just picking up the ones that are representative of your favorite titles? Did you pass this on this event? If so, why? What I'd love to know from our listeners, like kind of a barometer on where you're at. So, thank you for anybody that decides to reach out and give us kind of their feedback on this one. But, Jim, a successful first issue, or a successful opening chapter, really, because issue 1 is going to be in week 2. So this is a successful, I think, opening chapter.
Oh, big time. Big time. And again, as said throughout this, it's the way, this is handling this story for me. After the first read-through, after reading the other books, I went back and reread again First Blood, and I absolutely enjoyed it even more.
Yeah.
It's one of those, this is one of those series, when I first read it, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a neat story. I liked it. Afterwards, that's when I really started seeing how overall and how impact on all this stuff. And that's when I started thinking, outside the box, thinking off page, what could possibly happen. And it was funny because I intentionally, didn't read week 2 until we talked about it, but also I'm not searching the internet for spoilers or ideas or something. I want this to unfold naturally for me. Like with that Dr. Destiny, I kind of remembered him, but I didn't want to do any research. I didn't do any research on insomnia. I'm actually focusing solely on the information that's being handed out in this book, in the books, because I want it to be explode, to see and read it when it comes out on paper. If that makes any sense. It's something about this story arc I want to do that way. I want to read it that way. And it seems like to me, it's one of the things I'm really enjoying about this, because of I'm not getting any ideas outside. It's just solely the creations inside my brain, which can be scary sometimes. So it kind of fits Night Terror.
Totally agree.
Hope this craft can withstand this powerful force.
So, Jim, we're in week 1 of Night Terrors, and there's been a number of titles that have been released. There's 5 other titles, I believe, that have been released, and we can kind of talk casually through some of them. Starting with, as you mentioned, for us, we were both talking before this recording started, that Batman was kind of a pivotal title for us, one that we felt like is a part of the larger story, and I think some of that is just it defines kind of Batman's training himself to handle just all kinds of mental attacks. And it's something that I'm finding that is really intriguing. I love when you see him go to these extremes in training. Like the 24 hours he did in the, like the deprivation tank, where he's kind of, battling with the Joe Chill memories and things like that. And he doesn't realize he was in there 24 hours when he was pulled out. I thought that was just such a great sequence of events where Alfred's like startled by this because he's afraid of the impact of this kind of thing. I really, really love when Alfred is afraid of when Bruce is training himself what he's ultimately going to do damage-wise to himself long-term. It's an important role that Alfred's played in the comics over the years. And this is again a sequence where I'm like, this is why I love this character, and I love the story. I love what they've done with him. I've loved that they've stayed committed to the fact that they killed off Alfred. I still want them to find a way to bring him back, and I'm content for however long that's going to be. But this is a sequence that illustrates why I miss this character, because man, do I miss moments like this. I think this was an incredibly well written Alfred and Bruce moment.
Oh, big time. Again, everything you're saying, I'm echoing and agreeing with you on. I loved, seeing Alfred. It always does creep me out a little bit on the length that Bruce went for training. The subtle joke that everyone always makes: if I had his money, I could become Batman. No, you couldn't. There's no way anybody could become Batman, just because he's got that sheer level of determination that's his superpower. Everyone talks about how Batman doesn't have superpowers. No, he does. He's got that superpower in that it is just his pure 100% commitment to being the Bat. Everybody else, we've got our other little side projects. We've got other little things going on that would pull us away from just that one singular focus. And part of it is because this is based out of a traumatic event he had as a child. This is post-traumatic stress disorder. Right there is who Batman is. That's his superpower. PTSD is his superpower. And I love seeing just how deep and how much he's trained, how much he's trying to go on. And then even after that, he's pulled into this universe. So, yeah, he's walking around with the little kid image, but this is the Bat. He trained for this stuff. He's prepared to fight in this universe knowing, okay, this is not real. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to take all of them down. And I loved seeing that. It was one of those really cool, pivotal Bat moments where, Batman's one of the heroes who will be able to fight Insomnia. Batman, and that's part of the reason I thought about how this is going to be a crucial story into the overall Night Terror story. Well, one, Joshua Williamson's writing this, but two, it is because who the Bat is. He's trained for this kind of stuff. He's one of the people that I 100% could see having a solid story in how, Insomnia gets taken out. And we're going to later see, in this issue, Damian is also going to be another pivotal piece to the story arc, to the defeat of Insomnia. And I did air quotes, by the way, around when I said defeat, because I'm thinking Insomnia is not going to be a kind of a villain that they're going to cleanly defeat. They're going to be able to stop Insomnia, but they're not going to defeat Insomnia. Insomnia is going to still be around in some way, shape, or form when this is all said and done. This is going to be another not completely, yay, good guys won, clean victory. And just one, because it is a horror story, but two, just they're already laying the groundwork on how do you defeat a person like this. This is one of those where he's inside the minds of every single hero, every single villain, every single person. That level of power, how do you completely defeat that? And I love seeing, just again, Bruce doing his thing here, and later Damian doing his thing to fight this. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way they can take this guy.
That part is something that I think is really interesting, like this sense of just how big this villain is. I loved seeing the Bruce sequences where it was him as a kid.
Yeah.
And him having trained so hard to be able to control his mind, be able to wake himself up, be able to, kind of master himself inside out. And, we've seen him put in things in place like Zur-En-Arrh and all those kind of things to, all kinds of contingency plans for every kind of attack on himself. His contingencies are not working here. That part is really, really interesting, that he's going to all of his toolbox, and to see it take over Batman, Batman be unable to do that, it was something that was really interesting. I like the use of Insomnia in this too, where, Insomnia's... I liked Insomnia Robin.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool sequence of events, where he's like, I'm a big fan. What he's trying to do is, get into Bruce's head and see, is this where it's located? Is this where the stone is? That's what he's looking for. He's looking for clues to the stone. Yeah. And he's trying to attack them. The Selina bit I thought was fantastic.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And again, it's funny because Insomnia says he lived in Gotham.
Yeah.
Grew up in Gotham, lived there his whole traumatic life. Now, is that just Insomnia, or are we getting a clue as to, what happened to create Insomnia?
I don't know.
I don't know. And I love the fact that I'm not, because at first I was reading that, like, oh, okay, maybe this is, one of the bad events. Like, oh, I don't know, so I love that, and again, to your point where he's throwing all these things at Bruce and he's like, please, really? That's what you're going to do to me? Come on. And I love the fact that Bruce is taking on this, and even love the fact that the reason he thinks he can't wake up is because Boston Brand's in his body, not because how powerful Insomnia is. I don't know what the deal is, whether it is column A or if it's column B, and I think that's kind of neat.
The interesting part of wrapping up that issue was kind of the cliffhanger where it left him, where Insomnia was, he was hitting Bruce every which way you can, and he ended up hitting him with putting him in as Joe Chill, being unable to stop the events of the murder of his parents.
Talk about the ultimate mind, F with Bruce, putting him in the hand, making him pull the trigger, making him kill his parents. I absolutely loved that moment. This for me was a great, because before you think about it, what was Bruce throwing out? Oh, this all you got? Oh, you're going to show me the images of my dead friends, my dead family? Oh, please, that's nothing. Now we've got something that's going to mess with Bruce. This right here is going to really mess with him. And I loved how this was the ending of this issue. Because now I'm like, where's issue 2? Come on, we need issue 2. I need to see, how did this mess with Bruce? This right here is an absolute brilliant, brilliant cliffhanger. Loved it.
Yeah, and I agree with that piece altogether. It was an interesting and powerful cliffhanger. Poison Ivy was something that you talked about, kind of in passing in our opening sequence where we were talking in depth about First Blood. And I loved that issue. And one of the things that I really love about the Poison Ivy issue, it's written by the writer of Poison Ivy, G. Willow Wilson. And I love that it puts Poison Ivy into a dream, a nightmare, a whatever you want to call that, where there are reasons why she'd want to stay there. She's given kind of like this life where Harley's happy. The woman that she loves is happy, and she's contented to be happy with Harley, to the point where there's a draw to the dream. Where it's like, we can just be together and Harley's going to be happy, and she's, instead of being the, storm that she is, like, we're actually settling down, and we've got friends, and one of the friends is now Batman and Selina, and, they're our neighbors, and they're our friends, and Batman's not the enemy, and he's not chasing me, and, there's all kinds of reasons, and people like the Penguin and the Riddler and Batgirl are all friends, and we're all living in this la-la-la neighborhood, and Robin washes his car, and or Nightwing washes his car. It was just a very cool, sequence where we know that Ivy's being manipulated, and we see that she's being manipulated by whatever, Insomnia version of Harley that is in there. But we also get to see that if you aren't Ivy and you aren't playing along with the world, we've got friends of Ivy who are in that dream that are not having the same experience, because she's not supposed to be there, and she is not playing along, and she could poke a hole into, the sequence. Janet, was
Janet from HR.
Yeah. And Janet's there, and Janet's like, what is this craziness? Like, I don't want to be here. This isn't really happening. Why are you, going along with all of this? And I love that, the version of Batman that we see there and Catwoman and Nightwing and everybody else are kind of like, listen, Janet, you're kind of ruining this whole dream here, and we kind of need to put an end to you, because you're not going to participate. I love that even the sun is against her.
Yes. Well, now here's my question: is that actually Harley? Because I don't.
No. I don't. No. I said Insomnia version of Harley.
Oh, okay, cool. Now Janet from HR is actually Janet from HR.
I agree.
I think that's kind of fascinating how Janet got pulled into Poison Ivy. is, and it's as opposed to having her own little adventure. This is, she's pulled into Poison. I think that is kind of neat. And again, it does show the connection that Janet from HR has. Ivy's, we know from, Poison Ivy's book that, Janet really does dig Poison Ivy, and there are feelings that, that Ivy has for her, but she's like, it's that, kind of tormented, torn between and doesn't want to, and, doesn't want to let her into the craziness that is her life and all that. So I think that is kind of neat how she's in here, and that's going to be one of the side products. Again, talked about when we were talking First Blood before, how he said there's going to be changes in the universe. Having Janet and from HR in Ivy's dream world makes me think there's something going to happen between Ivy and Janet even further in the real world. And that's something I'm kind of looking forward to.
Yeah. I get what you're... And that's a nice part about having the writer of the regular series being involved with that issue. It goes to, this isn't just some kind of separate event. I think your talented writers who want to play along with the story will find a way to incorporate it into how they move forward the series. And I think that part's cool. The Joker issue was really, really awesome. Just because we got an idea of what would like a nightmare world be like with the Joker. It's what happens if Batman's dead. And I love how stupid Batman's death was.
Oh, God, yeah. It was perfect.
Yes. It was just kind of, he didn't even really cause the death of Batman. It was an accident. Because he fell.
He fell.
Yeah.
And he hit wrong.
Yes.
He tripped. It was like, did we make the ground wet? No, it's just the normal rain. He just slipped. And I absolutely loved how that played out. It was again, one of those brilliant stuff that happened with, because I remember when we were first talking about it, I want to know what the Joker's nightmare is going to be.
Right.
And what is his ultimate nightmare is that he lives a normal life. He's a muggle. He's just a normal person,
The thrill of the chase is gone. Without Batman, without that motivation, it's kind of like I don't like the things that I'm doing don't have the same impact. They're almost too easy. Like, we've got everything we want. We can take everything over. It's kind of like, what's the motivation? What's the drive? It's not there. It just goes to show that he doesn't really care about the things that he's after. He cares about the thrill of the chase, the foiling Batman, being, that outrageous thorn in the side. And that just can't be a thing. I loved it. I loved that sequence. I loved that whole issue because of it. And it's even like those that follow him are like, but boss, like, you're kind of losing your edge now. And I loved seeing him work a day-to-day job, though, and when he snaps and, like, smashes the microwave over the guy's head and did that whole sequence, it's kind of like, you knew, okay, there's our Joker.
He gets a promotion for it. And,
he did, yes.
Not only does he get a promotion, I was like, oh, hey, it was an accident. No, I killed him. It was an accident. It was like, I killed the guy. And no one is acknowledging that he killed the guy,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, granted, you know me, I would never actually hurt anybody, but there have been moments in everybody's life who's worked in one of these cube farms that has all thought the same thing, where like, could I get away with it? You got that one annoying person that you're just like, could I get away with it? So seeing the Joker going through this stuff had me laughing, just because I know, everybody who's had to deal with a cube life has had these kind of extreme these situations where in your mind you played it up to the extreme. So I absolutely fell down laughing over all this stuff.
His boss is Insomnia, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, again, and that's Insomnia playing the game on all these guys, on heroes and villains, seeing if they know where it's located at. And apparently the Joker doesn't know where it's at. And I loved how, even as the Joker's the Joker, he still tries moments when he has these rage and he has the killing thing. But in the end, it's, I got nothing. He's just back to the corporate shill, and he's just back to the life. And I love the moments where people are talking about how the Batman's back. He's like, no, his dead body's hanging up in his closet, and you see it. hanging up in his closet.
And he wants to go to Real Housewives because he's not buying into it. Do you think what do you think's going on with Batman in that? Is who do you think Batman is?
Oh, that's the Insomnia version of Batman. Like how, the only real person in this is the Joker.
I mean the Batman that's on the news, not the one in the closet.
That's all Insomnia created, probably. Or, to be honest, that could be the Joker's mind fighting this.
Yeah.
That could be, because you think about it, Bruce is fighting it. And we always talk about how the Joker is just as trained, just as disciplined, even though he's crazy, as Bruce is. So his mind would be able to create a defense mechanism to this. And it could just be because his mind is so crazy, maybe he's able to create this. And I think when this Joker meets the new Batman, I don't want to say it's going to be the Batman who doesn't laugh or the Batman who laughs, but it's going to be a cross between Batman and Joker.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be how the Joker snaps out of it.
The Ravager Deathstroke issue is really cool. Ed Brisson's Night Terror's Ravager.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one quite a bit. I'm a big fan of Ravager and Deathstroke and the whole concept. Actually, Rose has just become, for years, a favorite character of mine. And I felt like this recaptured so much of what I love about the character, if that's making any sense at all. The one that we really enjoyed in Titans and Teen Titans and things like that in the past. I feel like we're getting back to the core of what I think is cool about the character. I liked that we had a Rose who is like between two worlds, and there is a version of Deathstroke trapped in this world, trapped in this like nightmare world, and Rose is the conduit that's the way out. And there's an interesting like creep factor of Rose having to do battle with the nightmare world version of Rose, which was kind of cool. It was a different sort of story from the other one. It was definitely a horror film kind of creepy issue, which is hard to do with Rose because I feel like she's so talented. She's got that Wolverine factor to her, right? Where you expect her to be able to handle any kind of scary combative situation. And this was a different sort of story that was going on here. I like that it ties into what's going on in Stormwatch with her, and it was a really, really well done issue. And the artwork is another example of artwork that I think was really well suited to the action-based storytelling that Rose is a part of. I felt like it felt like another issue of a book containing the current Rose Wilson, the current Ravager, but in this Insomnia-based story. It's a different sort of story.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's kind of interesting, because you think about it with Rose's precog abilities, on top of just being awesome, that is something I could see. It would be a good way to fight the influence and fight that. And so with, Rose is another character that I can see being able to fight her way out of this. And I like that, and again, even in this, you think back to First Blood when we had the wall, Rose's image was one of the ones that was up there as being one of the targets, one of the threats, because of her nature, of her powers, of who she is. She's somebody that is a danger. And I like that. She's got a part in this because before we were talking. I still believe Batman's going to be the key crucial piece to defeating Insomnia. But Rose is a character that can add to the fight. Ivy is probably maybe going to be a character that can add to the fight. I'm not still seeing it. Obviously, I think Damian's going to be a character that can add to the fight because we saw in his Sweet Dreams story in the Bat book. That he's got plans to take out the, whether they're just delusions of grandeur or whether Damian actually has a plan, you never 100%. But Rose is one of those characters that could, out of nowhere, be a crucial piece to this. So that's something I'm really digging about these characters. That part of it could be a story for them. Part of it could be they're going to have a key piece to the fight. They're talking here that Rose is one of the gateways. Well, maybe the heroes need that gateway as well as the villain needs the gateway.
Good point. Black Adam. It was. I thought it was. It's interesting the books that got issues relating to night terrors, especially understanding the overarching story. But it does give you kind of more of a whole universe feel when you've got a book like Black Adam in there. And talk about one that really felt like a... it was tying into the current Black Adam, the Black Adam miniseries that have been going on, but also tied into his being a part of the Justice League team. I liked how we got to see this. One of the things that he's going to dream about and struggle with is what happened to Isis, what happened to his kid. This went back to 52, which I thought was really, really sweet. Talk about this being an event that kind of defines the universe and defines the rules of this universe. It went back to 52, and I loved Black Adam in that, and I was really appreciated the fact that this went back to that and really kind of brought that to the forefront for readers who maybe didn't get a chance to experience that weekly event. Those were some pivotal things that happened, and some of the coolest Black Adam storytelling happened in 52.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I wonder, the ending of that issue is, of course, the bat there.
Yep.
I'm personally thinking that's not Batman, but that's Night Terror Batman trying to manipulate the deal, trying to manipulate Black Adam. And my primary reasoning behind it is... I'm torn,
but I'm sorry, please be ready to continue with your thought. I'm going to say right now, as you're kicking this off, I'm torn, but I'm intrigued by what you're saying, because I feel like I'm on this teeter-totter of where I agree with you, and I'm also in the other camp. So I'm anxious for this, because I think where you're going to go is really smart, and I kind of vibing with where you're going, but I also think that I've got another opinion on this. But go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So my primary thought was, when you look at the bats hanging by the strings around him, but then you go down the pole and you see that Hill Brothers 3-Ring Circus Dead Man there.
Yeah.
Poster. And that was something, at first I was seeing that, I was like, no, that's not. And then I see that, and I'm like, hold on. If Bruce is in the fantasy world, Dead Man's alive, would there be the posters, or would that be, so part of me was thinking this was, and I'm still thinking this is a Night Terror, this is Insomnia created, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
See, and here's where, so part of me agrees with you. Here's what another part of me is starting to think. I don't think that Hill Brothers circus is a throwaway. I don't think that Batman is Insomnia created. I think it's Dead Man created.
Could be, yeah.
I think that's Dead Man.
And here's the thing. If that was Dead Man, I'd be fine with it. This is one of those things where, first read-through, I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's got to be Insomnia. And then I saw the things. And then on my art read-through is when I noticed the Dead Man down there.
Yeah.
And that's where it gave me pause on because I was 100%, first read-through, 100% locked in, that's Insomnia, thinking Black Adam will know where the stone is, and this is Insomnia trying to trick him to reveal it, appear as an ally.
Yeah.
But, then once I saw the Dead Man thing there, that's got me going, I've got hesitation now. And I love that. And that was something that,
I do too.
Because, this Black Adam story was absolutely wonderful on its own. Loved it. Then you get to that final page and you're like, oh, there's the connection.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, these were some great tie-ins this week. And so just kind of to summarize our experience with week 1. So one of the things I was wondering as we were going through, at least right now, my feeling is I just can't wait to talk about week 2. And that's something I was kind of wanted to measure out the first week to see where we were at as far as this. I don't know about where you're at right now. I'm jonesing. I had a hard time not reading because the books, before we were able to record, the books for week 2 came out. And I was like, should I read them right now or not? And I'm like, well, in fairness, if we're going to do a spoiler warning on this and really focus on the events of week 1, for people who haven't had a chance to read week 2 yet, this gives them a chance to kind of go on this journey with us this way. So I deliberately didn't read week 2, just figuring it gives us a chance to kind of digest week 1 and see what we were right or wrong about as we go through in week 2, because obviously there'll be some clarification and what surprises are in store for us. I really, really enjoyed week 1 of this. This is not what I expected it to be at all. I thought this was going to be we've gotten a lot of really cool miniseries out of DC. And I figured this was going to be a cool summer miniseries. I didn't think it was going to have like a major universe impact like it is. I feel like what's different about it is it really is, I think, defining characters and where they're at now, what their status quo is, what's continuity. And really, it's opening the landscape of saying, like, hey, 52 happened, this happened, this happened. These are how they're connected. This is who this character is. This is what their backstory is. And it's doing it through this storytelling in a way that I think is really cool. This is how you define a universe. And I really like what they're doing with this. It feels like fleshing this out. Like Dawn of DC's a thing. This event now can further building. I like the building nature of this event. I didn't expect that part of this. I figured it was going to be a very cool DC horror-based story, which it is. It's what I thought it was going to be in that respect. I did not expect the meat and potatoes of, wow, there's some real depth to how this is defining what's going on for us right now. Are you in the same boat I'm in, chomping at the bit for week 2?
Oh, big time. Big time. I had to force myself not to read week 2 for similar stuff that you're talking about. I wanted to solely focus on week 1 here. And I had to, the way I deal with this, if I've got it on Izilla, but I didn't download anything. Yeah. So it's just sitting there in a holding pattern, waiting for me to download it so I can jump on it. And as soon as we're done talking, I'm going to start doing that.
Oh, 100%, because we got to prepare for our next recording.
Well, and even if we weren't recording, I'd be jumping on it because I'm loving this. And again, it's one of those, as I said before, first read through, I enjoyed it. That once I got everything else in there, I'm like, oh, this is going to be some neat stuff. And you look at what's going on next week. Mm-hmm. We've got Green Lantern, Robin, Shazam, The Flash, Zatanna, and the first issue of Night Terror. So once again, Night Terrors is going full steam, and then these Robin, Green Lanterns. Come on, the Flash. I 100% want to see what's going on with these heroes in their universe, how they're tying into this. So I am all in on Night Terrors. Looking forward to this. I'm very excited for this. They're doing a brilliant job with it.
Agreed.
Reaching melting point. Not sure we can make it.
So, Jim, as we open up into some speeding bullets, we're going to jump to July 6th, and I just for a starting point. And what stood out for me is James William Stubbs posted the McFarlane Toys Justice Buster and Antimatter, these mega figs. Here's the problem with this, and I'm going to kill him, because I'm like sitting here, what I'm finding in my office right now and in my basement and in my workout room, those are 3 spaces in my house. My basement's like kind of my man cave where I've got my gaming consoles and all that. I've got my office where we record the podcast. And then my workout room in the basement is spaces where I've got like posters, signed photos, statues, toys, all that kind of stuff, right? I'm starting to get overloaded, so I'm like looking at how to reorganize and stuff like that. And it's not that I want to pare back. I just really want to kind of restructure so that way things just look cooler, if that am I making any sense. Just so I feel like everything doesn't look like it's slammed together. It actually seems like it's displayed. So I've been kind of thinking of that. So I'm like, I'm going to kind of hold off on ordering some things just because of it. Then he posts this because they look sweet. Particularly, I'm going to be honest, the Justice Buster looks really cool, but for me, it's the anti-monitor that I'm all about. I think that is a really good anti-monitor. And I'm like, oh, crap. It's not a want, Jim, it's a need.
Yes.
And boy, these McFarlane Toys, they are producing, and both figures, let me be very clear, if you're a fan of Justice Buster and all that, the detail on these, they look like comic book accurate or media accurate, whatever you want to call them. They look really, really sharp and detailed. I'm thinking back to when we were kids. You didn't have a lot of your action figures having this level of detail. I love this. They look really, really. They look like usually this is reserved for statues. Now we're getting them in action figures.
You think, yeah, when we were kids, our heroes their arms didn't bend and their legs didn't bend and stuff like that. And then I remember when G.I. Joe first introduced the ending and they could swivel the arm, you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. You look back to now what they're doing, you're like, little me mind would have exploded dealing with all this kind of stuff. So yeah. Looking at this stuff, it's absolutely brilliant, and I'm so glad I never got into collecting action figures because I'm running out of space as is.
So, have you watched this My Adventures with Superman at all?
I haven't had a chance to yet.
So, my wife and I have watched the first 3 episodes. We watched the first 2, as part of the initial release, their first 2 episodes. It was a 2-parter. I figured I would test the waters. We watched part 1. She loved it. And I did too. I mean, it's the best way I can describe it is it kind of does what Man of Steel did by John Byrne back in the day in an animation. It feels like a contemporary retelling of the story of Superman. Like, it's very much puts him in the, what it would be like if he was working at the Daily Planet today on adventures with Lois and Jimmy. It's them discovering Superman for the first time. It's him discovering what it means to be Superman for the first time. It's fun. We watched The Crowded Room on Apple TV Plus beforehand, which is very intense, very dark. And afterwards, my wife was kind of like, "Oh, hon, I need something fun right now." And I said, I haven't seen this My Adventures with Superman. Do you have any interest in watching this? And she said, "Sure, I'd love." She said, "I'll watch it." She said, "If we don't like it, we can jump to something else." We watched the first one. She was like, "Oh, we were tired when we jumped into the first one." She's like, "Can we just watch the second one?" And I'm like, "Oh," I said, "Listen, you don't need to tell me twice." I said, "I'm all in on this." It was fun, and it's very well written. And when I say fun, please don't take that as diminishing depth. There is some really great character development here. The voice talent is spot on. It really is. It reminded me of the vibe and feel I got when I read John Byrne's Man of Steel miniseries when it came out, and it just felt like this injection of fresh excitement into Superman, and I felt like that with this. And in all the right ways, but it felt very current, today's animation sensibilities. It was clearly catering to more of a today crowd. I think if you're a fan of anime and stuff, and I don't want that to scare you off if you're not. It's got some anime elements to it, but it doesn't overdo it. It's not like a manga, whatever pronunciation of that is, telling of Superman, but you can clearly tell, it's more of modern animation, I guess is what I'm going for, without going over the top with it. And it's really balanced. It feels very grounded in being exactly what it is. It's meant to be a today very comic book, accessible, friendly, modern Superman. I really, really like it. And I can't recommend it enough. 3 episodes in. We watched the 3rd episode last night. It is phenomenal. If you're missing this, do yourself a favor and start catching it. It's available on not only HBO Max, but Adult Swim, and you can buy it digitally right now, and do the season pass. They've already confirmed season 2, which I'm hoping that this, with today's writer strikes and things like that, sometimes what ends up happening when writers and artists strike and things, this isn't me discounting the fact that whether or not they have the right to do that, it's some things become the victim of those delays that come from it. I hope this is not one of them because it's good. It's really, really good. There's a Twisted Metal trailer on the site, which I'm a big fan of the video game, which is on Peacock. I'm glad to see more media kind of coming out there. Blue Beetle's gotten a final trailer. So it's out there now on YouTube and all the other outlets. You can see the final trailer for Blue Beetle that's coming in August. And the new trailer's outstanding. I can't wait to see this film, and I hope it doesn't fall victim of this current weird thing that's happening with DC movies. I am honestly hoping that people can look at this and view it as, do I want to see this movie, not do I want to see a DC movie? Because it looks really, really good and it looks really, really different. So I'm hoping the Cobra Kai fans and things like that will notice the actor and give it a shot because of the fact, because that's an overwhelmingly popular series. I'm hoping they will give it a shot because of him, because it looks like it is going to be a movie that will, for people that are talking about superhero fatigue and stuff like that, it looks different. It looks like it's going to feel fresh, and I hope it's given a chance and not somehow... I hope that media stays away from lumping it in with everything else, because it seems to be... I think that's one of the biggest problems is we now, because The Flash has failed, we've got to now lump these other movies in and go, does this mean doom for Blue Beetle? Does this mean doom for Aquaman? Stop that. Please stop that. How about, like, okay, The Flash failed. We get that. There's a lot of talk you can have around that. Can we please, before a movie's been released, stop, like, lumping it in and saying, well, now, this is a prelude for Blue Beetle. It has nothing to do with The Flash. It's its own movie. It is not Flash-dependent. Yes, it's part of the same universe. Okay, get over it. But there is nothing that movie needs from The Flash, from the previous Superman v. Batman v. Superman, or any of that stuff, you know, from the Snyderverse or anything. It is not dependent on any of that. It's just a Blue Beetle movie. And how about, like, giving it it's more what the first Shazam was, if anything else. And I hope this movie's given a fair shot, because it looks way cool, and I'm protective of it because I feel like it's gonna be way cool. And if it is, you know, which I'm hoping for, I hope it leads to it having a couple of sequels. I hope it doesn't get I don't want this to be a movie where I go, oh, well, at least we got that first one. I don't want that if it's great. I want a second.
I want a second and third. I want the trilogy.
I do.
I want the Blue Beetle trilogy. And I'll tell you, I've been, as these trailers have come out, I've watched them and I'm like cheering because I really love this character, and they're doing him right. They're doing right by him. They're doing right by the character. It's giving me what I wanted to see. I'm seeing it in there. I've been actively talking this movie up with people. I'm, like at work and with family, and it was funny. Over 4th of July holiday, I was hanging out with my brother Dave, and we were talking about the Blue Beetle and the character and this and that, and threw out the fact that from Cobra Kai, Jaime is the actor, from Cobra Kai. He's like, oh, really? Because he watched Cobra Kai, so I think brother Dave is in on this movie. But people at work I've been talking to about it. I've been actively being a cheerleader for this movie. And I don't normally do that with people. I usually let them ask me. With this one, I've been openly and I'm talking about it because at work, people's like, hey, so what's new? I'm like, well, the new Blue Beetle trailers is out. Oh, really? What's that? Like, so talking to them about who Blue Beetle is. It's coming out next month, coming out in August. So I'm actively,
and it's the kid from Cobra Kai.
Yeah, go
see it because of that.
Yeah, go see it because of that. And again, the analogy I've been using with people
because he's good. He's a good actor.
Yeah. But the analogy I've been using with people is a cross between Spider-Man and Iron Man, but in the DC universe.
Yep.
It's a young kid who's got this tremendous armor suit, who's scrambling for dealing with the powers, and then you add to it just his family unit. Looks like it's going to be fun as all heck. Man, I'm 100% all in on this movie, man.
Oh, my brother, testify, and apologies to Devon Dudley, because I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. I am so tired of things getting lumped in together and being doomed before they've been released. Give the doggone, can we review this movie? Actually have a review of this movie before we doom it? Right. Enough already with that. It's impacting a summer that I think has really been filled with some stellar blockbusters. This has been a really good summer of movies so far. And I'm seeing movies that are failing that are movies that were good movies. Not every movie has to be like a 5-star great movie or anything like that. There have been movies that I've really enjoyed this summer that have been good movies. Like Indiana Jones. I'm not going to go crazy on this one. I really enjoyed Dial of Destiny. Do I think it was the best one in the franchise? No, it did not need to be. It was a really good Indiana Jones movie. And I felt like there was some unnecessary criticism of it that, was corrected as more people got to see it. There was more of a balance brought to the discussion. Too late. And I feel like this movie didn't make what it should have. The Flash is another movie. It should have made more than it did. It really should have. Like, it's going to be on one of the articles that's coming up, and I'll just jump to it now, is that July 18th it's available digitally, and then I think in August it's available physically. That's fast, for a summer hit. Or, I'm sorry, for a summer, what was supposed to be a summer blockbuster. I hope it gains some of its money back. It's just such a shame, because that was really a tremendously fun movie that deserved more than it got. I don't know anybody that I know that has seen it that didn't enjoy it. And they're certainly not forced to say that they enjoyed the movie. I got friends of mine that are very, very casual fans. They're not like DC fans or diehard. They're more casual superhero media fans that went and really enjoyed themselves at The Flash. My wife enjoyed it. She doesn't care about, DC Marvel. Like, she had to ask me, is The Flash in DC? Because the whole DC Marvel thing, she doesn't care about any of that. It's like, this was fun, this was cool, but like, okay, who are they friends with? And like, who are they not allowed to be? Who are they not allowed to play with? And that type of thing. And I loved that. I thought that was, that she just enjoyed the movie for what it was, which was kind of cool. James William Stubbs posted a really funny one-page Super Antics number 19 that's up there. It's a funny little Superman.
Yeah.
So please definitely check that one out. We got more. Superman Legacy casting has been a big thing, where we're going to get Hawkgirl in it, Mr. Terrific, and we're going to be getting Guy Gardner.
Here's an interesting thing on that.
Okay.
First off, Nathan Fillion, he's absolutely brilliant. Love him. Could I see him as Guy Gardner? Oh my God, he will crush it as Guy Gardner.
Okay.
But, and you knew there was going to be coming in, but if we are doing a young Superman, is he too old to be Guy Gardner? Because, we're saying Guy Gardner is going to be older than Superman. Because he is, physically age. With the Henry Cavill universe, I think Nathan Fillion would be perfect. Again, I do think this actor is absolutely brilliant, and I think he'll do a brilliant job as Guy Gardner. So I'm not complaining about the casting, but we are setting that Guy Gardner is going to be older than Superman. And that's where, considering Guy Gardner is the second Lantern, are we saying Guy Gardner is the first Earth Lantern? I don't know. But it does kind of change some stuff. I'm curious as to see how they're going to do this. Again, not complaining about the casting, because he's brilliant and he'll play the character brilliantly. But I do wonder how that's going to be addressed.
What are they changing?
Well, by having we're saying Guy Gardner would be physically older than Superman. Plus,
why does that matter? Let me ask you. So you understand this is a brand new universe,
right?
That has not established any rules yet.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm curious to see how they're going to handle it. Plus, also, you think about it. Are they going to say that Guy Gardner was the first Earth Lantern? Or are we going to have Hal Jordan, then Guy Gardner, along with Superman's coming out?
Well, we're getting Green Lantern stuff as a part of this, aren't we?
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
If they're announcing Guy Gardner, so I don't know. Yeah.
Is that
I don't know. And
let me pull back for a second. Is this a worry of yours, or is it just something that you're
100% not a worry, because as I said,
it's not for me either. So So go ahead. I'm sorry.
100% not a worry. He's a brilliant actor. He will play the character brilliant.
Okay.
100%. Completely love that. I'm just curious. How are they going to do the timey-wimey stuff? Are we going to get a Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner? Are we going to get only Guy Gardner? Are we only going to get? How are they going to play this out? That's it's not a concern. I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I'm just glad here's the thing. Here's what I'm glad we're getting out of this. We're getting Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner. And I'm not. That's not me disputing anything you just said.
No,
I'm thrilled with that.
I'm loving
I think you're building off of that and kind of going, okay. So with his age, he's going to be obviously a little older. More. I think there's a lot of questions that come out of what you're asking. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you on that one.
And again, it's one of those things where I'm not going to say anything. It's not a negative thing. I'm curious.
Yeah.
That was the first thought that popped in my head. Well, first thought was, oh, that's cool. He'll do a great job as Guy.
I agree.
That was the very first thought popped in my head. Second thought that popped in my head was, how are they going to handle the lanterns? What are they going to do with Hal? Are they going to make is Guy going to be the first lantern? Or is it just going to be they're going to be older than Superman? Mm-hmm. Were the Green Lanterns around? Well, we know the Green Lanterns were around. The concept of the Green Lantern Corps was around before Superman. But the Green Lantern didn't appear on Earth until after Superman was around. So are they going to flip this around?
Do we know that Guy Gardner is going to be a Green Lantern in this?
No, we don't know that. He may be Guy Gardner because Guy on his own is a character.
Yeah.
So the end of the movie could be Guy getting a ring.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. All this stuff we don't know, and I think it's one of those things where I'm personally very excited for this. I want more Superman. I want to see where this is going. There's another article later on where they do confirm that this is the beginning. Superman Legacy is the beginning of this new DC movie universe. So this is going to be, from this is where we're going to see some of these characters. So we may get a Hawkgirl story. We may get a Mr. Terrific movie, or we may get a Green Lantern movie. These are stuff that may come out of Superman Legacy. So
I love that. I love the idea of Nathan Fillion being in this new universe.
Yes, me too.
I think it's great. I think it's meant to do. I think it's doing exactly what it's supposed to. It's meant to engage you to ask the question. I think you're doing the right thing in what you're doing. I guess you're throwing something out there that I wasn't thinking of, so I'm processing what you're saying. I think it's doing exactly what it's supposed to in the fact that you're asking some of the questions that you are, and I think different people are going to be asking the same questions. I think it's a good thing. I don't care about his age as much, but I think you're asking a good question. Like, it does establish some questions as far as, okay, how old is he? How long have the lanterns been around? Those are things that I want to know the answer to. Some of that I want to know from the movie, though. Like, I don't want them to tell me too much.
Yeah.
The casting, to a certain extent, it's kind of telling me too much. I don't know. I don't know that I needed to know that. Here's the thing. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that Superman Legacy is going to have Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner. I will admit, I think that's kind of shocking. I'm like, this is the first Superman movie, and out of the gate, we've got 3 other DC superheroes in there that I was not expecting at all, that have me going, where are they going with this? Yeah. I think that's cool. This is a very, very intriguing announcement to me. I think you're asking some questions I wasn't even thinking of that are making me ponder now. I'm with you. I don't think it's a negative. I think the question is, what does the core how established is the core? And where does this film start off in the life of Superman? Because I think this isn't going to be an origin story of Superman, right?
I thought it was a young Superman.
Right, but I think
so. I don't think we're going to get baby. I don't think we're going to get little Clark.
Right.
I think we're going to get it starting off with him going to Metropolis.
Early years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see where they are. That's cool. Jared made a cool post, and they announced that, just quite recently, they just announced that the DC Universe Infinite app has now put in a manga reader. And Joker Operation, One Joker, Superman versus Meki, and Batman Justice Buster on that list. And with manga reader, they're able to be read from right to left. So I think it's cool that they keep adding stuff to DC Universe Infinite. They keep expanding that platform. I hope that's a sign that it's doing well. In the sense that the fact that they keep expanding and adding on to it means that people are subscribing to this and it has some legs to it. I am endlessly curious as to what impact this is having on new comic development. I'm glad that we're getting more and more comic content on it from, different sources and legacy content. I also want to see, though, because I pay for that super subscription, and
yep.
I like the fact that I'm getting a lot of the books, much sooner because of the fact that I paid for that premium version of it. What does that do for creators? What does that do for people making money on this? Does it make money for the company enough so that they're able? Here's the reality. If DC Comics proper is making money for this, and they have enough money that they're able to pay creators properly from this, it's a win-win. You know, because I understand how the corporate world works. The company has to make money. Hopefully they're making significant enough money that it turns into some profit for creators. I don't know how this whole subscription thing works with regards to that. I have lots of questions on that. I have the same question with streaming platforms. So this is basically comic book streaming, for lack of a better term. That's always my biggest question. I love that they're adding more stuff, though. And Jared, thank you for posting that. Have you read any of the manga stuff from DC at all? Any of it?
I've read manga, but I haven't read any of this new stuff or any of that kind of thing. And I like watching anime over reading manga.
Really?
Yeah. For some reason, I think it is the reading it the other direction, and this and that does throw me off, for a little bit. And like the Ranma One Half, how we watched all that. I have those, and I watch them periodically. I also picked up the book, and I was reading it, and it didn't have the same charm. It didn't have the same kind of
How far did you get? Did you get beyond the TV series?
No, I've not.
You see, I've got to be honest with you. So I get your point. Like, kind of, you get so used to the TV episodes, and you're used to the voices and things like that.
Right.
So I got that. When I got past that, though, because it did the TV adaptation was really, really good. When you get past that and get to the stuff that was never televised, it's like, oh wait, this is really cool.
All right.
I'm a big fan of manga. I got into it when Dark Horse was doing. They were doing some really cool manga. I got into it with Akira. Really is the thing. I started reading the Akira series. I started the same creator of Akira, Katsuro Otomo, I believe is his name. And please, apologies for any name butchery off of it. But he did this Domu, Child of Dreams, that was done by Dark Horse. And Dark Horse just started doing more and more of stuff like that. They did something called Gunsmith Cats and things like that they were putting out. Dark Horse was just putting out this line of quality manga adaptations. And I got really into them. And it just got me, as you always talk about palate cleansers, right? Sometimes it's like I want to step away from the stuff that I'm reading from DC and Marvel and just read some other stuff. And that was coming. It just gave me an appreciation for a different kind of storytelling. So I've read some of the Batman manga that DC's been releasing in recent years, and bringing to the U.S. in recent years, I should say, and really have enjoyed that. So I haven't read the manga yet on the DC Universe Infinite app. I will definitely jump on that. To me, it's another bang for the buck. The thing that's great about DC Universe Infinite now, though, is you might have zero interest in that. That's okay, because there's so much other stuff on there available. I love that they keep adding a variety. Its value is huge. It's a huge value at DC Universe Infinite.
Oh, big time. And again, like you, I am glad to see they're doing this, because that, again, means they're putting resources and thought into the app. So, yes, keep giving me new content. Keep doing new stuff like this. Even if I'm not going to jump on this saying, all right, yeah, rock and roll. Mm-hmm. Seeing this does tell me they haven't forgotten about the app. They want to keep doing stuff. So that keeps going to stuff that I enjoy. So that's happy news.
That's a huge developmental addition to it, because they put a lot of developmental resources into making that happen, because that's not something that just goes snap. You've now made it work for reading the opposite way. And it's that opposite way isn't just like flipping the pages around. It's the panel flow actually is affected by that as well. It's a very interesting thing, and I'm thrilled that they've added that in. Scott Jameson posted a comic book review on Gotham Central Unresolved Targets, so please check that out, and that's at skjam.com, skjam.com. And also, Superman Legacy nabs Barry, a star, Anthony Kerrigan, and he was also in Gotham as Zaz. He's going to be Metamorpho. So Metamorpho's also going to be in that movie. It's quite a cast.
Again, more character, yes. And it's kind of neat because I think Jared posted about how we're almost at the Terrifics. Now we've got Mr. Terrific and we got Metamorpho. And part of me does wonder if they're going to do something.
I wonder if it isn't. They aren't building the Terrifics. I wonder if they aren't going to be. Now I'm wondering. I thought I heard something about maybe the Terrifics being a part of it. If this is a version of the Terrifics.
Maybe that's I don't know, and I'm
That's
liking
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might be onto something.
Actually, that was Jared posted that. I stole that from him. So
Yeah, no, Jared's right. I mean, I'm saying you guys, Jared might be onto something there. I think it's super cool. So we've got a post from James William Stubbs. It's DC Heroes and Villains from 10,000 BC, imagined by Midjourney. This is sweet. I love this stuff where you've got those photorealistic versions of them.
Yes.
And I encourage you to go to the site because I really like the link to that. So thank you for posting that.
The bat looks wicked awesome in it.
Sure does.
Yeah.
David Mack's new print of Sandman and Death. I want that. Pre-sale price of $25 and funds help the Hero Initiative. I wonder if you can order it. Because it's talking about the San Diego Comic-Con Artist Alley. I'm wondering if you can order it and have it delivered. I'm certainly looking into this. Go to the website. It's stunning. And I love stuff. Here's the thing. I'm a big fan of the Hero Initiative. So, which is really designed to help creators in need. So, I love that proceeds are going towards that. This is gorgeous. I'm a huge fan of these characters. So, that's stunning. Are you a fan of David Mack's work?
I know I've seen it, and I know he's a name I remember reading and seeing and going, oh, that's cool. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, he's not like a household name to me.
Yeah. James Tynion IV and Skybound Entertainment and Universal Products and Experiences are collaborating to bring Dracula to the comic book medium. And they're doing this new Universal Monsters line. I love this. Dracula Comics line. Are you a fan of the Universal Monsters?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not. I'm a fan of Dracula. I'm a fan of the traditional Dracula, the traditional Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. But I'll be honest, I have no idea the new Universe Monster line at all. What that is?
Well, this is the original Dracula, the movie.
Okay, so this is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
No. This is the Bela Lugosi.
Okay.
The black and white film.
Okay.
Version of it.
I get
Universal Monsters.
Okay.
So it's a new Universal Monsters line, meaning take the new off of it. Okay. Universal Monsters, the film monsters, the classic black and white films.
I am a huge fan of those.
That's what this is. They're doing a comic book line.
Ooh, nice.
Off of this. Yes.
Okay. Then I'm all in on this.
Yeah. So I think I get what you're doing. You're kind of lumping that together, new Universal, and thinking like, okay, what is that? No, it's Universal Monsters. So take the new off of it and just go Universal Monsters, and you've got it. It's the black and white movie ones. Because if you look at the cover of issue 1, it is definitely that film version of it.
Nice.
And let's see, as we're going forward, Disney's now blaming Marvel for all of Jesus Christ.
Come on, guys, really?
Yeah,
it does. And again, here's one of the things. This is something I've actually heard other people say.
Yeah.
Where the burnout on the heroes, burnout on eventitis. These kind of comments we've heard constantly. Yeah. Now, a good movie is a good movie. A bad movie is a bad movie.
Yeah.
One of the things that, though, if you do saturate a market, you do hurt your sales. This is, business 101. If it's so much out there, it will hurt your individual sales. So if there's so much different product covering the same genre, it will hurt you. And they're talking about how Star Wars and the Marvel Universe, all the cartoons, all that stuff, because there's so much to choose from, people aren't, it's not like, you only have one option. So it does make sense to say that it's all out there, but the question is, what do you get rid of? How do you trim the fat?
I think what he's saying here, though, and I think when you read this, it's less damning than it looks. This is one of those gotcha. Like, so it says Disney now blaming Marvel for all of their movies sucking. Okay, that's a gotcha. When you read the article and actually start taking a look at some of Iger's comments, so what they're saying is that they're releasing a lot of stuff too quickly and not focusing on, quality versus quantity. I think you can sit there and say, we are getting an overabundance of things. I'm not against the idea of let's slow down a bit and really make sure that everything is of the same quality. I get that. I've enjoyed everything that's been put out. But I definitely think, is there a difference between... so they're comparing like Quantumania to Guardians 3. I really enjoyed Quantumania. But if you were to ask me which movie was superior, Guardians of the Galaxy was. I do think, though, that they're doing too many too quickly. Like, spreading it out a little bit, I think, would benefit the movies. You know, because I think we are getting too many Marvel movies at one time. I don't know that there's not one of them, though, that I'm sitting here going, like, that movie stunk. I liked all of them. I even liked Eternals, which I know wasn't one of the more popular ones. Now, do I think Eternals is good as the other two I just mentioned? No. And I see why that one was kind of divisive as far as interest. But I didn't have a big history with the Eternals, and I walked in like wanting to know more about those characters, and I felt like that film did a great job of delivering that. But I think that's an example, though, of you got ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. Make some strategic decisions on how you're putting them out, and spread it out a little bit. And I think I'm finding with the streaming, too, which is one of the criticisms, that we're getting too much on the streaming. I love getting value on my streaming platforms, but I do think when you've got series starting to overlap on streaming, spread them out a little bit more, and I think delivering quality that way and spreading them out a little bit more will get people interested. I'm finding I'm having trouble keeping up with all the stuff on streaming, so I don't care if they spread it out a little bit more and focus a little bit more on quality. I kind of get it. I kind of get the problem. I don't think it's as damning as they're making it seem, though. Well, I guess let me ask you a question. You and I digest this stuff differently. So I typically see everything Marvel related and really, really enjoy it. You don't.
No.
What is keeping you from seeing it all? Is it? I know one of the things is that you and your dad don't watch a lot of that together, and you know you're with your dad being there. You know, there's time like, hey, we're gonna occupy the TV time together. It's gonna be stuff that we both enjoy. So there's that element to it, and you know, consequently, you're not going to be going with your dad to go and see the Marvel movies at the theater. So what is it that draws you to one Marvel movie versus the other? Because I know there's some you get highly interested in, there's other ones not so much. What is kind of your experience? Because I guess I'm not the best person to comment, because I will say I liked all of these movies. I'm glad that they were made. I can see why they maybe need to be spread out a little bit more for a general audience. That's just me trying to be objective in my comments versus that matching my experience, because it's me. Like, hey, give me more content. I like my problem being that I'm having trouble keeping up with it. I just like it all being there. But I see how that's problematic for big numbers. What draws you to one of those movies, though?
I think part of it is casting, is what the movie is, who they are, and also a big thing is my availability. You know, timing is a huge thing with me. Like with a lot of the Ant-Man stuff, sure, either it was during pandemic or it was during other stuff, and I wasn't able to see the first movie, so I'm like, I'm not going to keep watching these movies because I've got to watch all these other movies to get caught up. So I don't have time to watch all the other movies to watch the current one. You know, so getting caught up on that kind of slows me down for going to see it. But
do you feel you have to? And I'm sorry,
I feel like I have to on some of this stuff because I think, you know, because I haven't seen any of the Captain Marvel ones. Mm-hmm. So any of those things connected with her and the other Marvels and all that, I think I would be completely lost on. With the Ant-Man Quantumanium, I know the basics of who these people are, but I didn't see the second movie. You know, and I did see the first one, but I didn't see the second one. So if I didn't see the second one, I'm not going to go see the third one because I have to find time to watch the second one before the third one. That's why I didn't see it. Guardians of the Galaxy, I really did want to see in a movie theater, but you know, stuff kept coming up, and I was like, I can't. So I'm just going to eventually see that one because I've seen all the other Guardians of the Galaxy, but I didn't, you know, say I have to do this. Boom, like I do with the DC now. For example, Deadpool 3, I will 100% see that in the movie theater. Because last time when Deadpool 2 came out, they had a marathon, Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2. I saw that, you know, and I hope.
Is that how you experienced Deadpool 1?
No, I saw Deadpool 1 when it came out.
Oh, got it.
When Deadpool 2 came out, they did a marathon.
I know, I did that.
Theater. Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2. Saw that? 100% loved it. I hope when they do Deadpool 3, they'll do the same thing. 1, 2, and 3.
Did we do 1 and 2 together? Did we do that together?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I went to that marathon too. I must have done that locally off of that one. My wife likes the Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
So she likes the more like the racier ones, like Deadpool. You know, it's so she'll be all in on Deadpool 3. That's so. It's interesting with Deadpool because I know it's kind of been lumped into the MCU now, but I've always considered that to be separate, actually, its own thing, because it's almost a reimagining or a fixing of the Deadpool that was in the Wolverine movies. I love that Hugh Jackman's going to be in the third one.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of
it. It was funny, when I first saw that first clip, the first image, I actually thought that was fan-made. I'm like, okay. Like, oh, no, that's real. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So this is starting to come out now more and more that so the She-Hulk writer claps back at Disney's CEO by revealing that they have like this really low paycheck and low residuals. It's interesting to see what's happening right now with streaming and pay, and you're going from. I'm not going to pretend that I understand everything about the writer's strike and the actor's strike. I kind of see both sides of it. I see companies that are sitting here saying, well, we're not making the same revenue off of this that we would have been making off other things, so, how do we pay more? And everything's, film's down like 20%. So, okay, I see that side of it. But I'm also seeing the side where there's actors who, they aren't necessarily the main stars, who now, because we've got shows that don't have 22 and 24 episode seasons, they're now getting into these programs that are 6 to 8 episodes long, that it's hard to make ends meet off of that in an environment where things are just really, really expensive. I see that being problematic too. I get the conundrum. Streaming has changed the game. In some ways, it's very good as far as variety of what's available to all of us and variety of ways to get to content. The problem is this has to be profitable. It has to be profitable, and the people who are the talent, people who are writing behind the scenes, people who are acting in it, they have to be able to make money too. And it's not always just the top tier actors in that sense, or the top tier writers. You have all different writers, who need to be able to make a living off of this in order for this variety of content to keep coming, because you're going to start diluting the market, because if the best talent can't make money, they're going to go to do something else.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is the oldest business equation out there is profit equals revenue minus expenses.
Right.
So to increase profit, you either increase your revenue or you decrease your expenses. And the problem we run into it is, where do they decrease the expenses? And we've got a lot of and this is across the board in every industry in the world. We have upper management, whether it's the Disney executives or the CEO of the company you work for, who knows? Yeah. Who have these ridiculous salaries. So to cover those ridiculous salaries, you've got to decrease all the people who are actually doing the work. And it is an unbalance on the pay scale. And, it really stinks because actors sometimes get hit. But again, if you want with actors, you got to watch, because you're not going to, if you're paying them low acting wages, you're not going to get the big names. So they go, oh, let's just start cutting on the support people. Yeah. Let's just start cutting on this. And in reality, it's, they could make a lot more money if they cut their own salaries, but nobody anywhere is going to say, yeah, why don't you cut my salary? I'll take one for the team. Nobody wants to do that. So it does stink when you start seeing this stuff, because, revenues, the streaming and all that stuff makes it very easy for us to get access to it, but it doesn't make it easy for them to make the money on it. So it is also kind of the amount weird thing. The amount of stream. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah. The amount of streaming services out there, and the amount of you're seeing them merge in order to try and cut back on content. Yeah. In order to make ends meet. They aren't making the money that they thought they were going to.
The subscriptions, like, they're competing with each other by lowering these subscriptions to a reasonable cost. Because here's the problem. It's getting to the point right now, I'm watching what my streaming bill is. And before, what was happening was I was able to balance out what I was paying before for cable by cutting the cable, going to Hulu, with live TV, and doing my favorite streaming services. My bill was the same as what I was paying for cable before, but I had this like a la carte kind of everything that my wife and I wanted to watch was available. So all the streaming service and things like that I wanted to watch were encompassed in what was my previous cable bill before. Now it's like, oh, geez, I look at what I'm paying each month. I'm going to have to start making some choices. Because the reason why is I'm holding on to services where I'm counting on the fact that eventually, like, I'm not watching them every month, right? So I've got certain services where it's been like 3 months since I've turned it on. And it's not because I don't want to. It's not because there isn't quality material there. It's I'm watching 3 shows on this thing. I'm watching movies on this thing. And I've only got so many hours in the day. So the content's the draw. It's why I subscribed. I just can't get to it. So it's starting to run into right now where I'm not alone in that. I think I'm speaking to a lot of people who are nodding as they're listening along with this. So we're cutting back because it used to be before that didn't matter as much to me because I bundled things, right? And I was paying the same amount each month, so it didn't matter. Now I'm kind of like, my bill's going up higher and higher because these streaming services are having to charge more because they're not making what they intended on it. And I'm going to have to make some choices soon just because I want to be responsible. And it's an interesting sort of piece. And on top of that, I don't want to just watch stuff. I want to read comics. I want to use my streaming comic services I have out there, for lack of a better thing, which adds to the whole piece. It's interesting. It's an interesting topic. We already talked about the Flash streaming onto digital. So Marvel, it looks like, axed their Fantastic Four cast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I
don't understand why they can't get a good Fantastic Four movie going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of the problem with this right now is now we've got the writer's strike and the actor's strike. I don't know how far along this thing was. Whew. Yeah. I think it's a sign right now of them kind of pulling back.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to start seeing now, and I think it's something that when you look at the DC lineup, I think they're doing a strategic kind of careful launch of this. Kind of going back to how I think the MCU originally rolled out, right? Remember when it rolled out with Iron Man and things seemed to be a little more spaced out? Maybe that's just my perception. I felt like things were more spaced out. And then as it became more successful, we started getting things more quickly. Am I right on that? Is my thinking right?
No, I agree with you. No, I'm all in on what you're saying. We've got, when they first launched the Marvel universe, they were doing one bit, then one bit, then one bit, and they kept building on the stuff. I think part of it is the TV blitz of all the stuff that was getting released on TV. Then all the download, all the streaming stuff, and people did get inundated with it. So
I'm going to defend them though on what they were doing because first of all, I've enjoyed everything. So I want to be very, very clear. I am a more MCU fan. I am a fan of all the content they've released. Do I think it's all equal? No, but there is nothing, that I would like sitting here saying like, geez, I wish they didn't make this or I wish they didn't make that or boy, that was a dud. I'm not that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of the MCU overall. I love all the content that's been released. The thing about what's going on right now is I think in defense of them. So Disney Plus came out and they're trying to compete with juggernauts like Netflix, right? You're not going to do that unless you have substantial content. They're looking at Netflix had show after show after show and original movies that were coming on there. So they had to release a steady stream of new content to draw people and say, look, we're here to compete and we are going to be able to compete. The problem is that costs a lot of money in a short period of time, right? Netflix has had years to build that. And Netflix is obviously also competing and having trouble with the fact that now that there's more streaming services out there, they're competing for subscribers, and it's taking an impact on them. So I get everything that Disney did. I get everything that the studio heads at Marvel did, why they put out that content. I think what you're hoping for is that you get enough of a return on the investment, meaning you get enough subscribers and things that it makes it all worth it. They had to plan for a certain amount of a hit during that time, right? Because there's no way that you aren't going to initially be taking a hit when you're doing that. I don't think they counted on how much of a hit they were going to take. And that they were going to be taking a hit at the box office and everywhere else. Right now, people still haven't recovered from COVID. And there's a reality of that. We were just talking about this on Is It Jaws? We were talking about, I don't think it's one of the episodes that hasn't been released yet. We were talking about some of the box office situation. I hate when you see the finger pointing that naturally goes along with this. So there's a certain part of this where I can defend the choices that they made to produce that content. And some of it is just own the fact that you knew you were going to take a hit. And, oh my goodness, we took more of a hit than we thought, and we're trying to restructure and reorganize to make sure that we're releasing content in a way that makes sense for today's audiences. And what we really need is responsible journalism around this, too. Let's stay away from the negative pieces off of that and maybe, not destroy. Here's my big worry. I love this content. I don't care if they spread it out more. I think you kind of have to, right? And my reason for saying spreading it out more is not me saying I want less of it. I don't. I'm enjoying all the stuff I'm getting. The problem is I'm realizing I'm in a smaller category. Like there's a subgroup that's able to keep up with it. I'm forcing myself to keep up with it and loving it. Not everybody can do that. You and I are both heavy fans of this kind of material. You're not able to keep up with it. And that's not a knock on you. It's life, right? You're not alone in that. I think we're two representative people. You are a Marvel fan. I mean, let's be very, very clear off of this piece. You and I do a DC podcast. We're both Marvel fans. We both grew up being Marvel fans.
100%.
So,
but I just can't watch it right now.
Right. So I think that's kind of the reality of what's being faced right now. It's not necessarily quality. I think the blame game doesn't really do any good. It's more of just admit that this is new. And like any new thing, you have to learn along the way. This strike right now, I'm very, very worried about what we're going to lose as a part of it. I mean, I'm hoping it all gets sorted out because this impacts people's lives. And the reason why people are going on strike, writers and actors that are going on strike, it's because, remember, the Actors Guild covers a wide variety of actors' incomes. We tend to think of big money going to, some of our top-tier actors and stuff, and sometimes it's hard to have sympathy for the fact that there's people that fall everywhere in between that are covered by that. There's a lot of talent that goes into making TV shows and film, and they don't all make the same amount of money. So, and streaming programs and things. If we want this content, people have to be able to make money. I want the companies to make money. I want them to navigate this and figure this out in such a way where the company can still make money and a profit, and that writing and acting talent can still make money and a profit, and that this is sustainable. And we as the viewers somehow benefit from this in terms of quality that we're receiving. It's a simple dream. But I think that's ultimately what I would love to be the end resolution of this. I'm not going to pretend that I'm getting into every nook and cranny of this piece. I understand some of it and why there's a problem right now. AI is also a crazy thing. Like, I've seen some articles about some of the problems with AI right now and how people are being paid for AI, and I know that's one of the things that they're trying to negotiate right now, and I get that one. Because could you imagine, like, going on a shoot for a day and, like, you're paid a certain amount, and now they can just keep using your likeness?
Yes.
Like, wait, huh? What? I don't know about that.
And voice actors are going to be completely screwed over by AI.
Yeah.
You think there is a version of Johnny Cash singing Barbie Girl. Now, Barbie Girl came out after Johnny Cash died, and there's a version of it, and it sounds just like him.
Yeah.
So they could take any voice actor and just continue, and it'll be the exact same voice, but it'll be AI. So that voice actor will get nothing.
Is there a Johnny Cash version yet with the Rolling Stones painted black? Because I think that would be sweet.
Oh my God, I would love that.
So, like, maybe before we fix this, we get a Johnny Cash version of the AI version of Painted Black. Taking my joking, well, actually, I'm not joking about wanting that. I actually do want that. But there has to be, like, proper ways to make sure that estates and things are making money for things. Some of this stuff, there's a difference between hobbyist versions of things and things where people are making profit off of it. And I think there's a fine line between the two. And that's where they're going to have to really navigate AI. You know what I mean? That's going to be the trickiest part is, people who are experimenting, learning how to use the technology, learning how to grow the technology. They aren't making profit off of the likeness or the work of others. They're learning how to grow that technology. That's one thing. It's another thing where, to your point, now all of a sudden we're starting to make money off of that, and I think there has to be some fair ways to make sure that people are properly compensated for how and states are properly compensated for how a likeness is being used to somebody. It's interesting times, very interesting times, and I think all this stuff. One of the questions you ask is, okay, guys, you're a DC podcast. Why are you talking so much about the MCU? I think you have to take a look at where the MCU is in order to sit there and take a look at where does DC need to go. Because I think DC needs to take a look at, okay, what is the right amount of content to release? DC's got some problems right now, and it's scary problems because there's movies that are being released that are terrific. Like, I'm sorry, The Flash is terrific. That movie should have done a lot better than it did. And if outside nonsense is the contributing factor, or a perception of the other movies is a contributing factor as far as why that didn't do well, what did you need? There was no pre-knowledge you needed to go into that movie. It gave you everything you needed right in the movie. So, and my wife's a great litmus test of that because she didn't watch all the other movies. She went in and just enjoyed that one. Blue Beetle. This is a completely new character being created. If it somehow gets lumped into all that nonsense, it's a tragedy. Aquaman 2, I'm hoping that film does well. Now there's, I saw an article about like how are Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 next. If Aquaman 2 is a great movie, I sure hope not. But here's what that's going to have looming over it right now. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial.
Yeah, that's hurting it.
And, I mean, there's a reality of that's been lumped into... It's some of the areas where... I hate to be this person, but it's sometimes where the internet hurts things. There are so many people involved in the creation of a movie and television content and all of that, that when you single out one or two people, I understand they might be key players in it, and you make your decision on a film based on that and how you are talking around it. Because the media in general then talks around the movie gloom and doom, which is what's happening right now in some of these cases. I'm really worried about that.
Yeah.
Because those are two movies that I'm excited for. I loved Aquaman. I want to see a great Aquaman 2. I'm Blue Beetle. Oh my gosh, I want that to be a franchise because I think what I'd like to see out of that, I want a Blue Beetle video game. I have been screaming about that. I mean, I really have, and I'm not joking. I want to play a Blue Beetle video game. That character is tailor-made to be a successful video game. If this movie tanks because it's somehow tied in with The Flash, as far as in people's eyes, I am going to be so irritated because I want a video game with it. I really do. Tell me that character isn't like Jim. Tell me that character isn't ready-made to be a video game character.
Dude, he's perfect for the video game universe. Yeah. Again, you think about just the power of the suit, and as you go different levels, you get a new power, you get new things. Then you can, add on to, you've got the whole tier system where you can increase the, make his blasters more powerful, make the wings, make him fly faster. Oh yeah, his character is designed perfectly for a video game.
And you and I could play it and custom build the character, through different tiers. Like my Blue Beetle might be more one direction, yours might be another direction.
Yeah, mine would be better.
See, and this is why you need online combat with Blue Beetle. Because then when when I prove you wrong.
Hold on. We both know yours will be better.
No. Here's what we both know, because I would tell you about my own online gaming experience. I may go on and beat you, but then I will be trounced by somebody else who's and when I say trounced, horribly humbled. I am not a good online gamer. And with respect to you, you're an easy target. Because admittedly, you've been very open about the fact that you don't play games all that much. So, like, great that I can sit there and say that I can trounce you in there. That's like...
then some 13-year-old kid will just smack you around.
That's exactly right. It's really any online gamers our age would trounce me, because I don't do a lot of the online gaming. I wish that's an example of time. I wish that I could. But that's a character I'd love to play, a new story. A brand new open world new story where I could run around as Blue Beetle. Like, could you imagine navigating an open world? Think about what's your astronomer? Am I saying that right? Astroneer. That you really like. Now, that's very open world, meaning that you can go to multiple places and do, really cool things. Imagine using an engine like that, or that kind of concept, but running around as Blue Beetle.
Oh, God, yeah.
The possibilities there are endless. It's very cool. So I'm fingers crossed that this somehow breaks the curse, and he somehow gets wrapped into the new DC universe. I just don't need everything to be wrapped into either the MCU or the DCU. I still want there to be movies that kind of fall outside of that. I know they've got a plan for that, but I hope people give those movies I hope this is Blue Beetle's viewed more as like the Joker movie than anything else. I'm not hearing a lot about that sequel either, the Joker sequel. Are you?
Well, when they initially started announcing stuff, and then it just kind of silenced.
Yeah. I don't know. We're in interesting times where I'm concerned about us losing some quality storytelling. We'll see.
Come on, Skreel. Let's pay these Plutonian beam makers a visit.
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address. You prefer to contact us that way. You can find us at RagingBullets.com. That's our show website. It feeds into Twitter. We feed it into our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and that's a great place to go to interact with fans of the show. We have an incredible group of people there that put together the DC news for us, but also comic news in general that's relevant, and pop culture news that's relevant to fans like you. It's also a great place if you have a blog or a podcast or something that you figure is related to our audience. Please go there, sign up, shout it out. We'll be happy to shout it out on the show if we end up seeing it through the list. I'm a big fan of cross-promotion, so please feel free to do that. All I ask is if you post something there, please shout us out as well. It's kind of a neat little energy there. The About Us section of our show websites where you can find out how to connect with Jim and myself on social media and gaming platforms. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
We have Batman and Robin issue number 1, 50% off, $249. Batman Catwoman, The Gotham War. Battle Lines issue 1, 50% off, $359. Batman Catwoman, The Gotham War, Red Hood issue 1, 40%, $239. And Batman Gargoyle of Gotham issue number 1, 50% off, $349. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, I want to remind everyone to check out the deals of the week, because they always do these 50% off deals. And this one is Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Omnibus Hardcover. This is a $100 book that's 50% off, only $50. If you missed pre-ordering this somewhere, this is a great deal on this book. So I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our next episode, Jim and I are going to be back, and we're going to focus on week 2 of Night Terrors, which includes Night Terrors number 1. That's going to be our main dialogue. We're going to talk a little bit about the tie-ins as well. And we're going to keep following this event throughout the summer. So I want to thank everyone for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Jim,
we're going to do it right
Jim,
now. I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.